We've done the whole thing. Yeah. Yeah, no, I get it's call and stuff. Community. Yeah, community, yeah. So we're not, nobody's overcharged. Did you see this? I don't know why it's wrong, because it's months. That is really interesting. Yeah. I read it. Yeah. And that's good to know. Sit right on. Sorry.
I'm good.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Oh, that's all recreation. It's going to be a lot of people about 12. Yeah, we think so. Yeah, so if you'll start to tell them how long it is. You know, the videos I've been watching about town hall meetings, sometimes. It's so fun, good. I got to plan that. I went to their good for you. No, I haven't done any of that. I'm not thinking about anything. You had this one of our chickens was yeah. So we put her in a different way. No hospital, like no. See that? You're not moving, so bring up this. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, no. It wasn't a big deal. Sir?
I'm good. I'm on.
I was thinking, please. it's right, I don't forget. But I don't know, that's. Was this the first meeting? Was this the first meeting?
All right, it is called meeting to order. Rise with the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, thank you for the chance to come here again tonight safely to do the work of Banks Township. So we ask for your wisdom as we consider the matter before us, and we ask for calm debate as anything we want to talk about. All the things we ask in Jesus' name. All right, first thing is we've got the agenda in front of us and to make a couple of amendments to it. We need to add a ZBA appointment at the end in new business. Zoning board of appeals, yeah, well, yeah, we have 4 right now. So some shuffling into the planning commission. Yeah, that's, I got a couple more things. So you guys, yeah, I got this.
Okay,
Yeah, budget amendments,
okay.
which you guys have a copy of in the packet, and they drop them in front of you. Talk about what we're gonna do with the $3,000 over.
Okay, so.
Yeah. And then whether or not we want to, get snow.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I gotta make sure we want that.
You may be able to speak up as far as you're concerned.
I will try.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. He's. All right, so those are my amendments. I move to add those to the agenda. Mark supports. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye. Okay, the agenda is approved as amended. All right, Leslie, do you want to start right off the bat?
I can, I appreciate that. Thank
Yeah, I
you.
imagine you got other places to be. Leslie Myers here is our drain commissioner for the presentation for us.
Based on this room, it'll be very hard to see if I try to keep it on the screen.
Okay.
So just take note, we're gonna go with the shorthand version tonight. He's been following me around to all these meetings and now I feel he's prepared to give this presentation. So, all right. So I am Leslie Myers. I am the operator of dams and the drain commissioner for Antrim County. One of the things that I'm tasked with is lake levels throughout the Elk River chain of lakes. So the presentation I'm going to give pretty much pertains to if you live on a chain of lakes. So I just want everybody to be clear of that before I start. So I guess to put it in simple terms, Houston, we have several problems throughout the chain. Our infrastructure throughout the chain is in many cases over 100 years old. The newest thing we have throughout the chain of lakes is the culvert at Ellsworth, and we know how well that's working. So that's the newest stuff. So I am tasked with addressing 2 court-ordered lake levels. One that covers Intermediate Lake along with Hanley Lake, Benway Lake, and Wilson Lake. After that, no lakes are included. So technically, my job has nothing to do with anything above Wilson Lake. And we know that there's problems north of Wilson Lake. We also know that we're dealing with a court order and a lake level petition that dates back to a 1961 rule. And those rules no longer exist. I'm also dealing with one for Elk Lake and Lake Skidmore, and it's maintained by the hydro dam in Elk Rapids. So back in the 2018, 16 to 18, a lake level committee was created from all of the lake associations and the drain commissioner, and they started noodling on what are the problems here. And they realized that they needed to have a lot more data. So a grant became available through the Army Corps of Engineers, and we did a hydrologic model of the whole system. And we found out that we had several problems throughout the chain. Number one, we found out that there was some terrible, terrible issues with the overflow spillway in Elk Rapids. And if anybody's been to Elk Rapids and went down to Dexter Street, right where you walk over, you notice that it goes like this, and if you look over the side, you can see that it's undermining itself, and how the fact that it's even there, I don't know. Still to this day, so we know we needed to fix that. We also learned that the Bel Air Dam went over top if a 100-year storm happened everywhere in the north part of the chain at the same time. We came really, really close to that this March. We had record snow, well, not really record, but we had good snow last winter. Nobody can deny that. When the rain started, if you lived low enough in the elevations, you were by the lakes. And it just rained and rained and rained for 5 days. If you lived in the higher elevations, you got ice. And that rain didn't have anywhere to go, and we were 3 inches from overtopping the Bel Air Dam. As we know what happened in Midland, they lost their dams from poor proper maintenance, and they are now in their 5th year without water in their lakes. And I just cannot imagine what it would do to our economy here if we lost those lakes. So I started looking into other things. What could I do? One thing that came to mind and came to note real quickly was 70% of the Elk River chain of lakes is in Antrim County, but the other 30% is in 3 other counties. 10% goes to Charlevoix, 10% to Kalkaska, and 10% to Grand Traverse. With the way things were looking, there was no way Antrim County could handle this on their own. I got a grant from the state of Michigan through their Dam Risk Reduction Grant Program for $500,000 to study and come up with a fix for the Bel Air Dam. We are halfway through that grant right now. We have picked a design. As I like to say, I picked the Chevy instead of the Jaguar or the Cadillac. I picked the one with the least amount of moving parts because, number one, they're cheaper and they're easier to maintain in the long run. We're looking at about $6.7 million just to fix the Bel Air Dam. We also know we need to do something with the culvert here in Ellsworth, and we know we have to do some dredging projects throughout the chain. We haven't dredged throughout the chain since 1959. We used to do it on a regular basis. When we needed to dredge something, we dredged it. All of that stopped in the 50s. So there's a lot of sediments hanging around down where they don't need to be, and it's becoming a problem with boat passage, fish passage, people passage, just about everything passage. So then we started looking at the other issues. And we realized we couldn't do this alone. After the big rains in March into April, the County Board of Commissioners passed a resolution number 12, and it said 4 things. First thing it said is the Drain Commissioner has the right to go and discuss and figure out what we need to do on behalf of Antrim County with the neighboring municipalities and the neighboring counties. The next thing it said is that they gave me $125,000 to begin researching what else did we need. At this point, I have signed a contract for a study to be done on the Ellsworth culvert. I see Dave and Donna there. I know you guys have been trying to get me to be able to do this. I finally got the authority to do that. And I signed that contract 3 weeks ago. The next thing I did was sign a contract for a study at the Elk Rapids Dam, deal with the spillway and what was it gonna cost us maybe to fix that, or at least give us some ideas. And it came up that we're going to need to update those lake level orders. Those lake level orders will also need to be modified to include all lakes that are impacted. What does that really mean moving forward? The Drain Commissioner, through the courts, needs to establish a special assessment district throughout the chain of lakes. The 1994 law states that I have to cut it into 2 special assessment districts. There will be one that's everyone south of the Bel Air Dam, and there'll be another one that's everything north of the Bel Air Dam. It will then include each one of the lakes, and it will talk about everything we needed to talk about. And then we've got to get the money together. So far, the county of Calcasieu has signed on and they said, Leslie, we are going to authorize you to be our delegated authority because it's going to be cheaper for our people in the long run. If we only have 1 set of attorneys, 1 set of engineers, 1 set of everything, it'll just be cheaper. Next Wednesday, or maybe it's a week from Wednesday, my dates are getting a little fuzzy, I'm sorry. Grand Traverse County will be making their final decision if they'll be sending a representative to the table with their own staff, or whether they're going to appoint Antrim County to do that on their behalf. And the city of Charlotte, or the county of Charlevoix, is meeting in closed session next Wednesday, and then 2 weeks later will make their final decision. What does it really mean to those that do live on the lakes? Number one, I'm one of those people too. Whatever's gonna get paid, I have to pay too. I'm doing everything in my power to keep costs as limited as possible. We're very fortunate to have some great retired people in this county who have come forward and are part of my lake level advisors. Turns out there's a retired dam engineer that lives on Benway. It turns out that there's a retired drain attorney that lives on Torch Lake. He's volunteered his time. There's a PR man that's come forward to help us out. There's a professional grant writer. We can never find a grant again in our days, but I will not stop looking, but right now there doesn't look like a lot on the horizon. What this means is if you live on the water, you will be receiving a special assessment. If you don't live on the water, but you have deeded access, because you and 6 of your friends own a lot on the water that you all share with the docks, you'll be getting an assessment. Townships are not exempt. If Banks Township owns any water on the chain of lakes, you will receive an assessment. The good news is though, is the DNR is not exempt. They'll be part of this as well. So if there's DNR property, campgrounds, whatever it might be. Conservancies are also not exempt because they are enjoying and reaping the benefits as well. How much is this gonna be? I don't know. It cost me $500,000 to find out. It was gonna cost $6.7 million to fix the Bel Air Dam. So I'm gonna need some more money for engineering. So what we will start doing is the work that we can, what we do know, and have established a district. It is determined by a circuit court judge who approves the rolls and everything. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I also can't live with myself. If something happens to those control structures, it won't be as drastic as Midland, I can promise you that. But it might take 3 years, and some people are mowing an extra 11 acres. Or have several thousand feet of dock to put out till they get to water. And if we start mowing those 11 extra acres of all that extra land, what are we spreading? What are we going to do once we put it back? Next year, Midland hopes to have water in one of those lakes. They are now, because it took all this thought into it, all these lawsuits to stop it, the average homeowner now will be paying $2,800 a year for 40 years. Plus, they have a second special assessment district. It's just operations and maintenance. Because the two dam owners, or the dam companies went out of business, filed bankruptcy, and they now own the dams. So now they have to have another $300 assessment each just to maintain the dams that they don't have yet. I can't live with that. I enjoy the water outside my house and I want it to be there. But I also understand it's going to be a burden for some folks. There's gonna be a lot of folks that can easily write the check for the whole amount and not even have a special assessment that goes for a few years. But I want to drag that assessment out as long as I can so that those that might be impacted negatively, how many do we know that the families are struggling to keep that family cottage in their history, or they're just having trouble paying the bills as it is. So I'm gonna do everything I can to keep it as low as I can. I will come back and talk to you ad nauseum, whenever you want. If you don't want me to come, I can just send you a written report, give you an update. And hot off the presses today, we have a first newsletter that explains everything that we know so far to date. And every month we'll come out with some more information for everyone. I'll give these to you, and I will take any questions that you may have.
Tax collector here. So will the special assessment cover the cost of the $6.7 million dam? Where does the special assessment come from?
The special assessment will go, number one, except the special assessment attorneys and engineers are very expensive. So far, we know that there's going to be $6.7 million for the upper part of the chain. I'll be waiting to see what the study, it was a $30,000 study, so it's still gonna leave me with a lot of questions, but it's gonna give me some answers too. So we can make some estimates, and we may have to just reissue things as we get more money and pay for things. Alex, am I allowed to take questions from the audience?
Yeah, I've got questions.
Okay,
Leslie, is this, are these dams under first jurisdiction of the state?
only the Elk Rapids Dam is under our jurisdiction.
The only reason why I asked, I have to familiarity, sometimes they have requirements that you don't see in the initial.
Oh, yes, they do. Something that's very, very interesting about how the FERC program works is they are required to do an inspection every 3 years. They did not show up in 21 because of COVID. And they were scheduled, they put us off from last year to this year. They were scheduled for July. They canceled again due to budget cuts. So I ordered out that inspection at the county's cost because it's now been 6 years. And if we're going to do improvements to the overflow spillway in Elk Rapids, we might as well make sure that the dam's gonna stand too at the same time.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Is the special assessment district just for riparian owners?
Right,
Or is
period.
it tiered back lots as well?
Only those that have some type of deeded access. And the best example I can give to everybody is, anybody ever been to the Summit Village Beach Club at Shanty Creek?
Yes.
It's about 20 acres down on the water, and they've got boat hoists and swimming and partying and everything on this 20 acres. All those people at Shanty Creek that have a right to that will pay a portion. It will not be the same as if someone that lives right on the water and a homeowner that owns on the water is going to pay less than a marina with 2,000 slips or 200 slips or whatever. So it'll be use-based. I do not want to go to the nickel and diming of front footage. To me, if you have 10 feet at the water, or if you have 100, you're still using it the same way, or not using it in some cases, but that's a choice. But those with deeded, indirect, and direct will be the payees. There's no other way for the drain commissioner to do it. And while I get the question all the time, why not just have a visitor's tax? I can't do that, that's not my job. My job is to use the tools that I have. And I have a few more of these, I'll just leave them on the back table for anybody that wants to take one. And again, let me know how often I can come update you. By the time I get through today, tomorrow, there'll be something new that I should have told you, but it's just how it goes. And I'm just trying to take everything that I can and utilize every resource we do have in this town.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm welcome to turn off my air.
Well, I'm told, I know.
I guess. All right, and with that, I'm going to open the floor up to public comment. It's your opportunity to talk to us. It's not really a back and forth thing. So feel free to take up to 3 minutes. If you feel inclined, we'd love to have your name, where you reside. With that, I'll open it up.
I'm Mayor Stevens. First, I'd like to address the revelation from the last meeting regarding deleted emails. While I know we can't prove who did it, I'd really like to know what was in those emails, and I'm sure most of the voters would. What are they trying to hide? I think we should know. I know that they can be recovered. So that was my first thing. This leads to my second point. And it might seem drastic, but I wrote this in a hurry. Anyone who knows me knows I don't use the right words, but I believe that there's been a weaponization of zoning in this township. It has been used to the benefit of those connected to the old boys club, and it's been used against a lot of people, and it's just not right. I have one example. Mrs. Waterman's former board member. Her fence is 8 feet from the shoulder of the road. It's supposed to be 43 feet from the center. But I'm sure that that's all legal and she got a variance. Mrs. Postman says ED's paying on the property line, but I'm sure that there was variance there, so she's totally legal. I just have a lot of issues with some of this stuff. I would also like to stress to Mrs. Postman that she worked with the board that we elected and not out to try and get down, stir in the pot, trying to get Mr. Frisbee on his own issue, trying to get Mr. Rubing on his own issue. Because, you know, you got friends and X places. But you really need to work with who we voted for. It's just ridiculous. There was a lot of decisions that have been made on just like, then I heard about, a letter that was sent that people who have a duplex or a house that allows families, those need to go. They need to kick somebody out and they need to. And I want to know if David Dodd Harris got one of those letters, Mr. Bushman.
This is public comment, it's not back and forth.
Okay. Well, then you leave me no whole thing. I'm going to say that they knew exactly what they were doing when they got that, and they built that as a duplex for money. And now we don't want to pay the fine. And what I'd like to know is why don't we fine them double like they did to Matt and Aaron Harris, both an age on the property, so we'll just fine them both. That should happen to them because they knew what they were doing when they did it. And it's just constant. In the last 10 years, the weaponization of all these things to get their way. And especially against people rated white. I guess that's what I'll end.
Julie, what?
Julie Waterman, Banks Township. I would just like to say in public comment that my home is in the mobile home district. Actually, the only home in Banks Township in that small 80 acres. So my setbacks are completely different than everybody else's. That's my public comment. Thank you.
Not doing back and forth. It's her turn. No.
Thank you. Oh.
That's it. Next. Yes, sir.
So I'm Kevin Clayton, and I actually live in Central Lake Township. My twin brother lives in Banks, right across the line. He's out of state, so, and someone else from Banks Township asked me to speak up, but I'm just going to speak as it relates to zoning in Central Lake Township. As some of you know, I moved back here after retired from cardiology practice for 30 years in Fairmont, my family's been here since 1996. You can consider me a local or interlocal, but I'm here. So Central Lake Township has no zoning. Echo Township has no zoning. So I'm reminded of Joni Mitchell's song in 1970. She sang the song, it's called Young Taxi. You don't know what you've got till it's gone. Remember that song?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So in Central Lake Township, one of the things I'm going to tell you I love about Banks Township. I can drive through Banks Township. It's a neat community. The town, the farms are neat. They're well kept. The village is well kept. For those of you that drive down Rushton Road or drive down Ellsworth Road my way, you don't have to go very far. Sometimes feet, sometimes maybe a mile. And you will find junk cars. You might find 100 mattresses stacked right to the roadside. Okay, all the way. So Central Lake Township has no zoning, right? Here's what you do when you have someone that lives next to you and stacks 100, 200, 300 mattresses and junk and engines and whatever in their yard. You send them a letter from the township. You say, would you please clean up your yard? And guess what the person can say? No. No. So when you have zoning, you can deal with it. And you guys have dealt with it. Because you've dealt with it on farm properties, because I know the farm properties, and you dealt with it on Church Road just a year ago. All right? You take away zoning, you're going to look like Central Lake Township. All right? And I love Central Lake Township. They're good people there, and they don't want zoning. I believe they don't want zoning because they put it down years ago. But there's a price to pay, folks. And the price to pay is you give up the right to control that kind of trash. And if you believe in the value of your home, your property, wait till you live next to them. Okay? Don't talk about individual rights. Don't talk about all these problems with having zoning. The problem you have with zoning means you read the zoning laws, I suppose. Act like good neighbors with one another. But you are going to deal with garbage in your yards. The worst garbage we had near my house came from people from Ellsworth. They lived here. They moved there. Okay? So, and when we would go to them nicely say, would you clean up? This, what they said is they put a sign in their window of their house and said, stupid people, stay alone. Okay? So I'm just telling you, if you give it up, come down and see what we do.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't think that zoning is about protecting others. I think it's about controlling other people. And I know what house you're talking about. Nobody likes that place, but I have seen the health department. So any of these protections that you're talking about, public health, water, even gravel pits, there is county and state and federal regulations. You don't need layers and layers and layers of government overreach.
Yes, ma'am.
Vicky Camp, I live off of 31, near Essex Road. So I've inquired, I haven't been able to attend meetings for quite some time. So my last meeting that I did attend to, they decided not, they would, put a hold on the no zoning at all, and they were gonna look at zoning individually. And so I kind of want to know what happened to that. So number one. Number two is, my understanding is that a board member, put through once again the no zoning. And this particular board member, I believe has an interest in doing a gravel pit. So, and, I'm redefining the zoning for gravel pit. So my question to the board is, how can that person on the board put through an amendment or a proposal and push it through and not excuse himself from the vote because he would benefit from that? So for example, I've been on the board, my husband occasionally gets offered a job, to do work within our association. I always refrain from voting on that topic. I don't understand why this particular board member gets to push through and it's a vote on something that he would gain financial benefit from.
Thanks, Vicki. Happy to, thank you, Jeff. We haven't talked to you after, for, not doing back and forth here. Yes, Brad?
Brad Waterman, thanks Township. I'm sure this isn't this town's first time of having people drive around and, tell who has what and what's going on. I would just advise everybody to read the zone and know what you're talking about before you do it. Just a comment.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
I'm Dan King, I live on Bay Ridge Estates in Bank Township. And I just got wind of the idea of deleting the zoning from our community organization. And I personally feel that zoning is a benefit to the community, that we regulate certain activities and building projects. And I don't understand why we would want to throw it out lock, stock, and barrel, when it would be much more prudent to refine the zoning laws and update them as the governmental process should work. So go ahead and get rid of some of the bad policies and keep the good ones, but refine the zoning. Don't just throw it all away. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Patricia Hill, and I live in Banks Township.
Say again, Patricia what?
Patricia Hill.
Patricia Hill.
And I was just reading through our existing zoning ordinances, and some of the things that we currently regulate, that to my understanding, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, that we will no longer be able to, are things such as high traffic uses, residential buffer areas, signage, telecom towers, marijuana establishments, sexual activity type businesses, strip clubs, hours of such, cemeteries, golf courses, wind turbines, campgrounds, gas stations, drive-throughs, and car lots. That's just a few of the things that are currently regulated by our zoning ordinances. So is it my understanding then that all of those things will be just free for all if we do eliminate all of our zoning ordinances?
All right. If you're in that first, go ahead.
Okay.
You.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Dr. Mitch Dixon here. Fairly new to the area. My PhD is in biology. I've been told the rest of my realm what I'll be talking about today. So funny story, when I first moved here, I contacted Curtis, our planning commissioner, and asked if I could put a few cabins that I wanted to do an eco resort. Of course, he said no, I live in a residential area. And at the time, my first zoning was like, dang, it's infringing upon my rights. As is so often the case in my life, I later recognized my early ignorance. I was alerted to a massive gravel pit that a board member here has proposed. So I started doing a little bit of scientific research into the literature on gravel, sand, and aggregated mining. And I found about 50 to 60 the state human diseases or health conditions associated with it. So silicosis, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, chronic bronchitis, pulmonary fibrosis, emphysema, asthma, pneumococcal cancer, whatever. Acute silico tuberculosis, respiratory infections, reduced lung capacity, hypertension, ischemic heart disease, stroke, heart failure, neuroinflammation, cognitive decline, dementia risk, noise-related stress disorders, lung cancer, esophageal cancer, stomach cancer, lymphatic cancer, skin cancer, reduced fertility, sperm count decline, adverse pregnancy outcomes, increased infant mortality, and the scientific consensus on a lot of these is that silico exposure is the single most well-documented hazard under Group 1 carcinogen.
Hey, Chris, 1 second, please keep it, your comment down. Good job.
Yep, per the International Agency for Research on Cancer, and water contamination and heavy metals contribute to kidney and reproductive disorders. And I say all this as a concerned citizen. I just uprooted my family here and will be having children somewhat soon. And I know my children will attend the schools here. I know that they'll be drinking that water, so just concerned about all this zoning talk because we know that there are other things underlying. So.
You can say what your last name.
This, yes, I'm part of things.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks. Dave?
Dave Rasmussen, Banks Township. I just want to speak to the costs that we keep bringing up, what zoning costs. And one thing that zoning protects, as we mentioned, is cell towers. We are fortunate enough to have a tower in our township on Banks Township property that generates close to $100,000 or over $100,000 a year, 1/3 of the budget. That could go away. This board gets offered all the time, offers to buy that tower out to the tune of up to $2 million we've been offered. They're going to go to the lowest bidder, and that money goes away. That goes to a farmer that might be struggling. They're going to offer $900, maybe $1,000 a month for that contract. $12,000 is a lot of money for some people. $100,000 a year for this. 9,000 a month, right, Katie? Roughly 9,000 a month. That's gone. The 50 grand that's thrown out there a year to have zoning, which I don't believe is accurate, provides a job for someone. Again, $100,000. If it costs 50, that's 100% return on investment. I don't know anything else. But you do nothing but collect a check. So think about that. It goes away. Where the next tower might be and what this township could do with $100,000 less in their budget.
Thanks, Dave. We're here first.
My name is Linda Travis. I live in Elk Rapids. I live in Antrim County. And you have the good fortune up here of sitting in the watershed of the chain of lakes. I will be affected downstream clear to Lake Michigan by all the water connections from up here all the way down that are affected by the diseases that Mitch spoke about. And if you want to have your drinking water all the way down, the people that live all the way down to where it comes out in Elk Rapids, they have something to say about this. Because you can't just pollute the water, put stuff in the water, especially the silicon, I think is the one that creates the cancers. We have so much cancer now, we're always going, I wonder how we get cancer. Well, let's not add another thing to the cancer. This is very important, and I think you're going to hear voices from downstream. If you have a big rally, every year. The Chain of Lakes big rally, that brings people here. People come here for the lakes. They come here for the rivers. So don't get away with the zoning. I lived in a county once where a guy could build with no zoning. He built a hog pen right next to the neighbor's house. A hog reserve. Come on. You can't just do it because one person wants it or even 10 people. It's going in the watershed, which goes all the way down to Torch Elk Lake, all the way out to the Lake Michigan. Thank you.
Thank you. Aaron?
Aaron here. Cell phone towers also cause major problems. Okay. Brain diseases, all kinds of things. We don't live, excuse me, we have lived in a community of gravel mining for 100 years. I think we're all still surviving, we're all alive today. I think we're gonna be okay. And I don't know if we can answer this question or not, but is the gravel proposed area already in conjunction with what's already there being used, or is it something brand new? Is it near water? Is it gonna affect her drinking water in Elk Rapids? I mean, I don't understand this word. I don't know, get rid of zoning, and I think we should, it's home, honestly.
What was that? I didn't hear
I
what.
think we should get rid of zoning. And further that, I'm not sure if we're here about getting it, because the rumor is that it was never legal in the first place, and we're just trying to get it to the people at this point. We just want to get it on the ballot. It's not up to those folks, they're actually supposed to come to us so that we can try and vote. If it gets, voted to stay in, then let's remodel it. Let's make it a little bit more doable. Rather than so restrictive. And if it goes away, it goes away, but at least bring it to the people. I think that's what we're here for, is to see if we can get it on the ballot. And go from there. Let the people talk. Let our voices be heard. I don't know if anybody can touch on the history on a D5, and if it was actually accurate, or if it was where we're at on that, if it's even legal, even if we're supposed to be here right now. I don't know. But as far as gravel mining, we were in business and excavation for 30 years. Now my husband isn't here right now because he would love to debate you.
I want to debate.
With your book knowledge and his blue collar knowledge, I would love to hear the debate. Thank you.
Anybody else? Yeah.
Hi, everyone, Hannah, I was from Township. I did file a letter already, but I did want to just emphasize, currently, the township is updating the master plan. I know that it's currently, still being looked at and it's not available for public comment yet. I did look at the 2019 master plan, and obviously that has already had surveys that the adopted master plan, which goes into what you reflect your zoning ordinance to be. That document, that guiding document, has nothing about repeal of zoning. In fact, it has language in there about maybe changes, emphasizing certain regulations to it, that have public comment to it. So I just think right now, having conversations with repealing zoning while you are updating the master plan seems to be very short-sighted as a planning process. I don't agree with it. But I just think at least slow down this process to actually review the new master plan that you guys are working on, and resource and time and money have to spend in to see what that type of information is, can be shared. And I would note to that as well is, like a couple other people have already said, you don't have to repeal zoning. There is ways to use your zoning and provide language at bare minimums. It doesn't need to be as complicated and complex as it is right now. So I just would like to say I do not agree with the repealing zoning.
Thanks, Aaron. Anybody else? Jesse?
Jesse Anderson, Banks Township. I just want to remind everybody that zoning and blight ordinances are two totally separate things. That's it. Oh, yeah.
Hey, Paul. Paul Hamlin, Banks Township. So a couple months ago at the planning commission,
the boards were working with, my people with their zoning issues, and they had made a motion to, do something with setbacks, possibly, or setbacks, and go back to the video and find out. It's been a couple months, no word, last I heard, there's nothing new there. Government is very inefficient, there's a lot of boards and people back and forth and back and conversations, anyway, you can't get anything done, you'll never change the ordinance. We've asked for, just put it on the ballot, let the people decide, go knock on doors, do whatever. But that's, what it should come down to, so, America, it's not, you know, any other country less than us, so. Anyway, at this point, now that the zoning enforcement's really stepped up and is going after, current events, current issues that they know about, letters getting sent out. In the meantime, it hurts my heart to say that people are gonna be thrown out of their homes. It's not a lie. That's what's happening with the multifamily dwelling issues. There's more than one family, where the families have to go. They, have like 3 to 4 weeks to go find any place to live. They probably, maybe they don't even know about it yet, but, you know, justice or compassion, I don't know, you guys, it's a tough one, heavy bricks to carry, but, I pray that you all are compassionate people, and put and invoke a moratorium on the enforcement of the multifamily dwellings until the people have voted on the zoning. I hope that you will consider that, and probably better get it done tonight because, these people have like days, weeks to just try to find somewhere to live, and I don't really know if there's really many places to go around here, so, I want to wish you well. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Yes, sir. Great stand, Banks Township. I'd like to address Craig Stanley, Banks Township. On the gravel pit issue, I was literally born and raised in a gravel pit. My dad was 6 months old. My dad would take me to work, working, and a dump truck rolled over his trailer. I'm 64 years old, and I did not take any kind of medication. You know, so the stuff the gentleman was reading, I don't believe in it.
Yeah, Richard.
Rich for Steve, thanks, Township. My family's been here for 3 generations, and I think it's pretty obvious in a room like this, we all care about our area, we love this place, it's beautiful. You'll never get everybody to agree, but that is the beauty of our process in America, is we get the chance to vote on things we don't agree on. And so I think it's a great opportunity, especially something that dates back in the 70s. I'm 32, I had nothing to do with that. To have the chance to vote on an issue in our township that affects all of us clearly, as we're hearing tonight, practically. It's not to give examples of how zoning impacts my business, my opportunity as a young person in this area. But I think I'll stay on that for a minute and here to try to learn, kind of hear the gauge of other folks in the area. But sure seems like having the opportunity to vote on it. And then if the residents of the township want to keep it, we can get in there and try to modify this thing to be a better version to meet the needs of the majority of people. And if the majority of the people are like, we don't want it, I think that's pretty clear. We should be given an opportunity to do that. So that's where I am right now. Thank you.
Yes.
I just like to say he said it better than I did, but he said it better.
All right, anybody else? Yes, sir.
People that don't like your gravel pits, that's a business, that's not one person making money. Outside of town here, we got 2 nice houses, they're building houses around one of them. That was a gravel pit. It was the one across the road. It was a gravel pit. Look how nice they look today. There's one out on the flat road, it was a gravel pit. I worked in the gravel pits when I was young. It's a good place to make money, and Banks Township could use places to make money. You know, and we're trying to get choked out of it with all these regulations that we gotta follow. So for your zoning, I say no.
I'd also like to remind people that,
You already went for it, I'm sorry. We're one.
okay,
Okay, sorry. I'm happy to talk to you. Oh.
yeah.
All right, anybody else? Oh, this is gonna go until midnight. No, that's fine. Anybody else? Once, twice, all right, 3 times, close public comment, thank you all. I'm gonna go over a couple questions that I think I can answer without getting crazy here. Vicky, you asked why did this get brought back up? Yeah, reintroduced as a motion, and 3 members of the board voted for it. So that's what happened with that. We don't have any policy on not bringing it back up over and over again. Brenda, you asked about. Well, all of your comments, I'm gonna tell you. The email thing, I'm trying to figure out what happened. I've tried to get a hold of Pro and I've gotten back from them. Mike did as he always does and destroyed the hard drive after everything had been moved over. He's thinking that maybe what happened is ProWeb thought or decided they didn't want to pay for all of this massive amount of gigabytes and they have just wiped everything out and gone to a policy. We don't know. I'm trying to find out if that happened. No, you probably are not going to cover that. Anybody who knows anything about IT, you drill a hole through the hard drive disk and it's gone. You cannot recover it. So anyway, I'm trying. We're trying to recover that. Some things can't be fixed. So I'll do what I can. Let's see. Patricia, you asked if all those regulations that you listed would be removed. Yes, they would. Aaron, you asked about the gravel pit that was proposed, and then the application was rescinded. That ultimately the goal was there to connect it to the Hershey pit. Let's see. I think that covers the actual question. All right. Okay. From there, we'll move on to approving the minutes from the September 22 regular meeting. Discussion. All right, all in favor, say aye. Vote the same. Done. Go on to Jared's county commissioner report. Hey, you guys got this conversation. This room. You can't hear us very well, but we can all hear it too. You can take over the back. You should take with you. Jared's fire away.
Eric Rubin, County Commissioner. In County, every year we have several boards, and it's the time of year when we take notification interested people can apply for those boards. And they are listed on the Entry County website, but I will read them because with all boards, it's important to have good people on them. And those boards are the Northern Lakes Economic Alliance, the Commission on Aging Advisory Board, the Construction Code Board of Appeals, the E911 Board, the Economic Development Corporation, the Farmland and Open Space Preservation Board, the Planning Commission, and the Veteran Affairs Committee. So all those
are listed on the Antrim County website, and you can download the form there to fill out. Last month, we got the medical examiner's report for Antrim County, and I'm happy to report that drug-related deaths in Antrim County for 2025 so far are 0. Last year, they were 5. Last year, we had 68 unconfirmed deaths, and the majority of those were determined as either accident or natural. We had 6 autopsies ordered and 8 toxicology tests ordered for last year. And I've been in some meetings recently where we're trying to get the medical examiner, the county sheriff, and Morton's Funeral Homes all on the same page, because some of these deaths have not been resolved in a timely manner, and it's been extremely stressful for family members, as you can imagine. Other than that, the dams update that Leslie gave, I appreciate any feedback that any of my constituents give me. The Board of Commissioners will be making the decision probably next year on whether to levy a special assessment. I know Katie asked about it last month, so I appreciate that. Leslie is going to all the township meetings. She was at Central Lake Township last month. She'll be at Torch Lake Township tomorrow night. She was at Milton Township this morning. And if you know anything about Leslie, you know that she's very thorough, and that she is trying to do it as economically as possible. And also, she has been very instrumental in installing some rain gauges and some lake level gauges in Antrim County. And when you have a lake level that you have to keep in Bel Air, and it's 3 inches different out here on Ellsworth, and you raise or lower your dam gates, and it takes 3 days to see the effect, it can be pretty complicated for her to even do her job. So I just have seen firsthand that she's taking her job a lot more seriously than our previous dam operator. Thanks.
Thanks, yours. You hear that? Jerry here. We have a copy of the sheriff's report, if anybody would like to see it. Of course, biggest thing is just 18 traffic stops. Treasurer's report.
Yeah, and should have gotten it, sent you all the email PDF of the funds incoming and the current fund balances in our accounts right now. As for the bills, is there anything unusual on your review you want to attention to in this house bills? I wrote a check to the village for the road, which we'll talk about later, for $41,000. That's the only thing that, this is the last one for the outhouse at the park. I had them for. Did you get the email from HCI? I read it. Oh, that's in there too. Oh, okay. So you'll have that. Last month, you send out that check for DPE. Can you send that out tomorrow? Yeah, I sent the other one right away. Just wanted to do it. This one's to the 27th. They marked the last one late. So. But it falls right under me. They won't let us do a credit card. Is that the one they won't let us do a credit card? I can ask. Not sure. But yeah, KCI's on it for the tax bill, for the post. The food that even higher, the bill higher than the food, so we have to do that. So I paid the portion. I paid the portion too. Is that to pay Nolan or get it to? I wrote it, Marlene said it best if I wrote it to the village of Okay, okay, so I'll put that in her website, that's how she wanted it, Alex said I deleted her. The report that has the check numbers on it, so when this one has check numbers. Yeah, okay. I did this one too, because that's, the other one, yeah, e-checks, okay, perfect. And then it has a fund balance.
Have a motion to approve the payments? All for it. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Carries. Zoning administrator report.
Well, thank you. So many people left and we were so concerned about what's going on with zoning, they can't hear. They can't hear. A couple of issues, I'll start off, we have not had the planning commission meeting yet, so I was concerned about that, that hasn't been met, they're meeting tomorrow. And sure they'll be talking about things that have already been discussed here. Generally speaking, there's still activity going on, building activity. People wanting to put up accessory buildings, some revisions to their homes, that sort of thing. Getting a lot of calls, I get calls from realtors all the time, can I do this, can I do that? And one today, what's the situation, can, along Lake Michigan on Lake Shore, can we build steps down to the lake? And those are things that I do not give an instant answer on, because there are other people involved. Particularly along there, you've got the lake, and you've got potential state issues, erosion issues for the county. So I handle them slowly. There are some things that do get, that take a while, and I refuse to rush them. But I try to address most people the same day, if I can. I often have people come right to the house, fill out their zoning permit right there. And if everything looks good and if it's a no-brainer, we do it, put it through, and they're able to go on to the county and get their building permit. So we're trying to make it easy for the people, and I just think that's the right way to do it. That's how we want to be, right? We're not draconian, even though the zoning sometimes makes it look like we're draconian. When it comes to the zoning and some of the issues that are up right now, it's an issue because that's how it's written in the zoning. For instance, first of all, a couple other things. We have zoning, there's the zoning board of appeals. It's been set for November 1st.
7th.
7th now? Okay. It's the first, okay, November 7th.
I had to do with dates.
Okay, November 7th, zoning board of appeals, that will meet on the deck issue on Atwood Roof. Okay? It's in their hands, I think they've got all the information they need. I'm hopeful for a positive resolution for everybody, we'll get that done with, but it will be done right. Okay, nobody's doing favors for anybody. Unfortunately, you gotta jump through some hoops sometimes to make it done right. So there's that. We've also got, tomorrow night, the planning commission will, be looking at a, special use permit, for something happening in Atwood. So that's on their agenda for that. So, I'll be giving input on that project. The issue of, two-family dwellings, outside of R1, I have sent two-family / multi-family dwellings, and without naming any names, I have sent 3 letters. 2 of them, I put a November 15 deadline. I sent them, well, it's been probably 10 days out, they went out, it's over a month, to address the situation. And the other one is the multifamily, is a little more complicated, because it involves what was migratory housing, and the state was involved with that originally, so I'm working with the county, and where everybody fits in on that. That one, I have I've got them to agree to no longer, or not to take it. They were using Airbnb for short-term rentals. Short-term rentals are allowed. Unfortunately, multifamily dwellings are not in that area. So that's the big whirlwind circle that I'm working on that one there. But they've agreed to block the rentals off. And for now, until the end of the year, that gives us some more time to work on things. So that is essentially been addressed at this point. The other two, we'll just wait till the middle of November and see if there's resolution. Any other questions?
Okay. Julie, the lights above, I mean, can we turn the other one off? Children in the dark. Are you okay with that? I don't want to give you a head. All right. Thank you for that. All right. Richard, talk about planning commission, you can. So,
No, actually, I'm not about last month's. No, I got a report for last month's meeting, because better. So you have to read that one.
oh,
Yeah, so we do expect after last month's meeting, the master plan is supposed to be complete, and it's on our agenda for tomorrow night to review the entire master plan. Soil extraction ordinance. We're expecting the requested feedback that we requested from the township attorney at tomorrow night's meeting. It's a big item on our agenda. Setbacks, one public commenter was correct in saying that thing is kind of following, and I'm not sure where it stands. We tabled it, and I don't see it on our agenda tonight, so that one's moving really slowly. Discussion of David Valley Harris's duplex problem resulted in the planning commission passing a motion to begin the process of amending the zoning ordinance to allow multifamily dwellings in all zoning districts. There's further discussion of that in our planning commission.
hey, you guys say something about the.
No setbacks.
I'm sorry, I missed it.
It's okay.
Good.
Okay, thank you. Maybe from the fire department? I've heard from Mark today since you were here. Apologies for not doing that. I think they're gonna have something going for the trunk or treat anyway.
I'm sorry.
Fire department? No.
Oh, the fire
Fire department.
Yes, they are. They'll be passing out. Can I say that?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm so going.
The fire department will be passing out fire alarms and fire extinguisher.
We don't know yet. We gotta talk about it.
Okay, well, they will be getting their haunted house, and they usually pass out prizes for every employee goes. So, fire prizes, yes. And, EDA is the trunk or treat is up and running. Everybody please come October 31st, 5 to 6:30, Community Park. Feel like more candy and sugar of all kinds that we've ever wanted. And we are gearing up for a goal setting meeting in November. So if there's anything you want us to discuss, you can just tell me, and I'm sure it's planned. And that's, the next meeting is in November.
Thanks, Neil. Ambulance authority? I don't know, so it's rough. It's the same thing as last month. The cash is tight. We're trying to figure out what the best solution is going forward, but we obviously spent money on legal fees getting this the contract for the new director. I said last month, the union situation going on, so we've had overages there, but the new director Joel is doing everything he can to get us transfers to the highest level that we can get for the authority. So we're trying to do as many of those as possible. It's, yeah, I mean, yeah, but they own the township. Yes, they own a lot, we own, yeah, we can make a motion to put that on. If we want to. Yeah, we go, us, Echo, Jordan, the city of East Jordan, those are the four. Have notes out there, plus the village, or plus the vehicle fund as well. So we got, it's a grind. But if it goes under, all the townships are gonna take on the liability of the authority. So the goal is that not to happen. And plus we all want ambulance, we're trying to do the best we can to keep it floated. Either Rock Road, there was a plan on being on that for a year, and here I am. So we'll just keep trying, do everything we can to keep it up. But if anybody's got questions, ideas, feel free, I'm all ears.
Thank you for being on.
You're welcome, sweetie. Good for all of us. I think. Help. Are there any other correspondence other than Hannah's letter?
Yeah, so there's 2 letters that we got from the. And then, what Jared, I said for the jobs that are available, I got one else. And then Brenda, Stephen actually, he signed the guy who called looking for his grandpa. Turned out they're cousins. So she helped me find this grave. She got a hold of him and based off of the testimony because of the guy he has. And she has one of the original maps. Her grandparents had it. So where the plot is the map. And there is an index on the map that she had, the very much sometimes used to just put X's where the bodies were, the original grandparents. And it has an X on it, and the map today has the X laid out at the available spot, but it is, there's an index in the ground. Right there, like in the body, so. And the grave is right by where the gaps, where it would be his dad. Not yet.
It's right. All right. That's the regular report, present part of this deal. Old business, property review, anything going on with the park and cemetery? No, I don't. Dylan was working on this. Pretty great.
Yep, he's gonna get the trees down by November, and then we'll get it seeded in the spring for the park and comfort cemeteries. That's it. There are flags at Ellsworth and Atwood cemeteries, so I also had Brenda ask about that. If you have a loved one who has a grave there, and there's a flag on the tree, it means the tree needs to be trimmed. That the trees are overgrowing and it's impeding the use of the lawnmower, which goes against our cemetery ordinance. Some people have also planted snowball bushes, those are not allowed, those are massive. And where you planted it, it also will impede the lawnmower. I will not remove anything without calling first. I said I would do that, and I will do that. So that's what Brenda asked. I see there's a flag on this tree. I told her what it meant, and she said, well, can I trim the tree myself? And I said, absolutely. I'm more than happy for anyone to take care of their own things. I don't want to have to. But things have to be clean and tidy, and there's a lot of graves that we're not taking care of, and they're overgrown, and there's legitimate garbage around the heads. So the rule is May 1st to October 1st. It's October 20th. The flower pots, the urns, the fake flowers, the beer cans, the empty fifth bottles, those all need to go away. Not
be kept there.
Can I, a little further comment, I was involved with Julie on putting those flags. And there are a significant amount of plantings that need to be addressed. So I really want to look at how we have to do it. In the Ellsworth Cemetery, there are 5 massive evergreen trees of some kind that are mostly dead. They're going to be expensive to remove, but they're just eyesores. A couple of them are right close to that little building. And 3 of them are way back on the northeast corner. So that's just an example. I think probably most of those were originally planted by somebody's grave, but they are, now they're this big around and they're 60, 70 feet tall and dead. And then there's lots of other examples of really difficult ones. Maybe 10 feet diameter. So the headstone somewhere down under the bush. So we flag all of those kinds of things. They all need to be dealt with. Most of those, you're not going to be able to trim them to make them anything. Because you have a little stump. So, but Julie's a sexton that she wants to keep working with. I was really hopeful, I was hurried to get those things marked, hopefully we could have them more than it's there in November. I guess we're not going to do it.
None of the trees are located. There's quite a few that you can't even see the headstone anymore.
I had not gotten Jerry on tree removal, so I had that pretty good. I know that's fire hall. And then Katie got it.
I did make contact with Otwell Lobby. They are an environmental engineering firm in Traverse City. They were familiar with us. They said they had 12 in the summer and we talked to them, or they talked to Julie, people that they were familiar with the project. Gave them the parcel numbers. He's going to go over it, get back to us, get back to me with his recommendation and thoughts for them.
All right. Julie, I mean, Beth has been working a lot on that website.
Yeah.
You want to give an update? Feel free.
It's moving very slow. We've made the most progress, I made the most progress this past Friday. I don't think she was impressed with me. Just because it moves very slow. And I said I wanted it to be a working phone call. We're gonna spend an hour on the phone. So, I hope by next month we're done. We meet every like 2 weeks, it feels. I make changes, so the way it works is I have an atrium. She sends to me, I make changes in the atrium on where I want to see it on the website, and the colors, and the positions, and the pictures. And I'm very thorough in my notes and in what I want, and we don't do it. We have to wait, and we have to talk about it. And then she makes more notes, and then a month later, changes are made, so.
Glad it's a plan.
Yes. What they did promise us is that part of uploading and switching websites, we realized that there's a chunk of minutes that are not PDFs, they're uploaded directly to the website. So along with uploading the older minutes, we are going through and have to upload everything. I think it's until 2018 for 4 minutes, and then we're looking for the planning commission minutes to get those uploaded. And they said any changes that we make on the current website will then be, they'll go to the final date and they'll shift everything over for us. Moving along.
Oh, man. Update, what I've seen so far looks pretty good. You want to talk some more about?
Yes.
Moving some things around.
Yep, I saw another website that did it like that, so. I'm gonna see if we can do it on our end, so it makes more sense.
Okay. All right, moving on to the 6 Mile Lake and Resort Drive all the way to Bridge Street. So that's, I think it's done.
They were working on the shoulders yet?
They're pretty close on the
They get the gravel out of the village part of shoulders. That's the important thing. Why I can see building this lot. There is.
So one of the things that we added, to the agenda, I'll just throw it right in here right now, that's okay with everybody, is that the, quote for that, for doing the intersection that we approved was 65 something. But they ended up going over, because the scope changed. Anyway, the scope changed in that the intersection at Wooden Shoe, increased by some measure. And so instead of, he said he ended up having to mill more of the intersection down, and that's why it went from being 65 something to 10. It's an extra $3,000. You did? Oh, that's all right. I didn't hear anything there. Okay, well, I'm not wasting my time looking for it. We agreed to split the cost to a part of the village. So basically, we need something if we want to continue that relationship on this project. We basically need to only have $1,500 to cover the rest of the intersection being changed. So it does look good and pretty smooth. I don't know. I don't drive it very often, so I can't say how much of an improvement it is, because it still feels like all there to me.
It's a lot.
A lot better.
Lot better. I know it's a lot better than Rushton Road.
Fair enough. We could do that.
Nice job.
Happy with it today. This one, hopefully the road commission didn't go through and undercut a bunch of gravel and stuff right before they laid the pavement. So the quote was $65.90, and the ended up being $10,580. $4,040. $2,000. Happening. Yeah, big after that.
2,000 bucks for the packages.
Then that's what you put tomorrow. Inside.
Yeah, they bid.
So, you mad at me because I told them you could wait?
Yes.
They can wait.
That's just like they asked you that. So I sent everything out, and everything's right.
That's fine.
And I have to go back and do everything again.
Well, I didn't want you. I'm sorry. Let's do it next month. It's $2,000. Hayden Dolan is not going to occur for a month.
Who supported that?
You know, there's
Nobody supported.
Oh, awesome. All right, any further discussion? No? All right, then, all fair say aye. Aye. Same. If it doesn't say where it's from. We'll do that. That piece. Okay, moving on to the repeal of zoning. Notice they have our turns coming today, because I figured there's gonna be some questions. Hopefully, I wish you kind of. I guess you're already. So I don't know. Do you have any questions on what we
Yeah, I do. There seems to be this like story out there that what we did last month in repealing zoning is going to give the vote to the people. My understanding is that would be only if we go through this whole process and the people petition and do all the things and jump through all the hoops. Is that correct?
Go ahead, I can answer that, but I'm not going to do it.
So I'm Catherine Kaufman, I'm the lead attorney for this township. Some of you may have seen Nicole Essett or Michael Vila from my firm. I'm the managing partner of the law firm, both offices, Kalamazoo and Charlotte. I am an AICP certified planner, and I put myself in law school working as a city planner. So I know zoning. So last month, you voted to possibly repeal the zoning ordinance. The only way to do that is through an ordinance. So you would have to adopt an ordinance repealing zoning. When there's any ordinance that amends a zoning ordinance, either a rezoning or a text amendment, that can go to the vote of the people under the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act. It's called a referendum, but somebody has to go out and collect petition signatures and get a certain number of signatures in order to put on the ballot. There is no right in a township to have an advisory ballot. Sometimes in cities and villages under their charter will allow an advisory question to go to the people. We don't have that right under law in a township. The one exception, other than marijuana is an exception, it's right in statute. Under the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act, if you are amending the zoning ordinance, you have the right, and it's right in the Zoning Enabling Act, I'll look up the section, for somebody to submit a notice of intent to bring this to a referendum, and they have 30 days to go out with the requisite number of signatures and put it on the ballot. And if they do it, then that has to go to the next regular election. All right, so that's the only way we can vote on whether or not we want zoning. All right, so if in fact there's an ordinance that's created to repeal zoning, which I think that's what we were talking about last month, like just abrogate it, totally get rid of it. That would have, first of all, go through the planning commission, public hearing, go to the county planning commission for their comments, back to the board would have to adopt it. Then we have to publish a notice of adoption in the newspaper, and within a certain number of days of that notice publishing, I think it's 7 or it's 8, don't quote me, it's one of those two, somebody has to submit a notice of intent to bring a referendum. All right, so somebody who would, in that case, want to keep zoning, okay, or, because if they adopt the repeal, then we would have no zoning when that ordinance became effective, all right? So somebody who would be against that action, probably to keep zoning, would submit this notice of intent. And then we would go to the vote on the question of the ordinance, which is repeal, okay? So then, we'd have to write the language so everyone understood what they were voting on. It's all backwards, undo it now. But, so that's how it could happen. There is no right in a township to just put it on the ballot. Do we want zoning or not? So we can't do that. But it could happen this way, if this is what people wanted to do. And I can speak more to all the questions about zoning, or can we just amend the zoning, or it doesn't fit us, or it's too complicated, or we want less, we want more. All those things can be done within the normal zoning ordinance if we decide to keep it. So any type of issues that are cropping up, we can address those. I don't know what the setback issue is. It hasn't bubbled up to me yet. I don't know what the duplex or the multifamily, that hasn't bubbled up to me yet. All those things can be addressed if you keep it. But I think what you're looking at right now is last month you voted, I think 3-2, to go ahead and repeal. So if that's still what you want to do, then what we have to do is draft an ordinance for the planning commission, which essentially says an ordinance to repeal the zoning ordinance. Somebody else brought up, did we ever properly adopt it? Did it ever happen? Was the baby ever born? We don't know what happened over the last 40 years. There is case law in Michigan that if ordinances were adopted, even if there was a technical problem in how they were adopted, if you have relied on them over a period of years, they are good. They are perfected, essentially, right? So I don't know what all the historical discussion is. I've got a piece of paper here talking about the 1970s. I'm just going to tell you there is adequate case law supporting the idea that if you have been relying on a zoning ordinance, you've been enforcing it, you've been applying it over a period of years, then even though maybe there was a technical defect in the notice, maybe the notice of adoption didn't get published, it's going to be perfected under case law. Case law is reported cases from the Michigan Court of Appeals or Supreme Court, which find all of the lower courts. So if there's any other questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Yes. Another thing was brought up that we could get rid of the ordinance and just have a bunch of standalone ordinances. How does that work?
We can't have standalone zoning ordinances. ordinances. We could have, somebody mentioned here, there's a difference between blight and zoning ordinance. Yes, that's true. A blight ordinance is something that applies regardless of what zoning district you're in, and it's about not necessarily land use, but some kind of impact, noise. You can do junk cars, you can do litter under blight, because those things where it doesn't matter what zoning district they're happening in, they are a violation, okay? So, but if we are trying to regulate land use, that is zoning, and it must be done through zoning ordinance. So we could, take the zoning ordinance you have, and I have it actually it's in my car, and strip it down to be much less complex than it is, to fit your community better. But we can't have here in this, we can have police power, our own regulatory ordinances are sometimes called police power. We can have police power ordinances that are like light, noise, junk cars, litter, all that. Those do not, they're not regarding zoning districts, but it would be anywhere we go in the township, it would be the same, no matter what zoning district you're in. So that's how some townships that don't have zoning operate. And obviously I just said I'm a planner by background. I think there's value to planning, I think there's value to zoning, but not every municipality. So whatever it's worth, you all decide what you want to do, and we can help you get to that. Yes. Yeah, usually the land division ordinance. Sometimes I'll see the zoning ordinance, but most of the times not. But generally, even if it's not in the land division ordinance, any parcel that you are going to create has to comply with the zoning ordinance. So you're going to have your zoning administrator sign off first. If it meets the road frontage, if it's big enough, it doesn't say, if the zoning district says you got to have an acre lot, to divide, then he's going to sign off first, and then it'll go either to the assessor, usually who does the land division. Usually the land division ordinance is a standalone police power, not in the zoning ordinance. Sometimes it's in zoning, but I don't often see it.
You said that you read language. We voted to repeal, it said an amendment to repeal.
Right.
But have you written that language for the planning commission?
I have not. I understand they're having a meeting tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay. So but you didn't schedule a public hearing yet, is that right?
That's right.
That's on the agenda tomorrow.
The public hearing?
No, I just scheduled.
Okay, perfect. So we have time, okay? So once you schedule that public hearing, then the ordinance that's the subject of that public hearing has to be ready for the public to review. So if you tell me, tomorrow night you have your planning commission meeting and an attorney from my office will be there, I cannot be there tomorrow night, but Nicole will be there. If she comes back and tells us, okay, they've decided to go forward with the hearing, next month, we'll draft an ordinance to repeal the zoning ordinance. And it would be very simple. It would be, an ordinance to repeal the zoning ordinance, and then there's a severability clause, an effective date, a savings clause. A savings clause allows us to continue to prosecute anything that might be ongoing, even if we repeal the ordinance. And you could decide whether we do that or not. So it would be a simple ordinance. But if they decide to set the public hearing tomorrow on this, then Nicole from my office will be there. She'll prepare the ordinance, or she'll tell me to get it done before your public hearing. Okay. And then that's the ordinance that will go forward to the county planning commission for their comment, back to your township board. And once you adopt it, if you do adopt any ordinance, zoning ordinance that you adopt, whether it's a rezoning, whether it's text amendment, we have to publish a notice of adoption within 15 days. And if you publish in a paper, you only publish it once a week. We only have one chance to get that in the paper. So it's really important you let us know right away. We adopted it. This is the ordinance number. This is the meeting we adopted it at. And this is the paper we want to publish. And we'll write the notice of adoption, and then we'll get there. Anything else? I am happy to answer. Okay.
Yeah. I'd like to make a motion that we have our own public hearing at the board level requirements. While the planning commission's also.
Make that motion to do it after planning commission public hearing.
Because
Planning commission has to have one. That should be done first.
Yeah, so,
go ahead.
yeah.
Jump in here anywhere.
We get there. Yes, so the planning commission has to have one, the board can have one if it chooses, it doesn't have to be registered. So the way it would work is, planning commission holds a public hearing. We have to go to the county, planning commission on this, and then it comes back. When it comes back to your township board, you can schedule a public hearing. You can notice it in the paper, okay? Again, it's not affecting, a certain particular piece of property, so the only notice will be in the newspaper, unless you want to somehow otherwise publish it. Because it's going to affect the whole township. And then you would hold a public hearing, and then you could decide, your board, whether, yes, we approve it, no, we don't, whatever. So I would, as you said, I would do it after the planning commission, after it goes to the county, comes back to you, and then you can set a public hearing. You'll have to notice it at least 15 days ahead. Okay?
All right, I will rescind my motion. That's fine. Anything else on the zoning commission?
From what I hear, it's not, there is a bigger handful of people that want it, but want it. So I think the struggle that we have now is between, once it goes from us to the planning commission, and then there's a pushback from the planning commission, that it's either a slow, I'm in government moves slow, but it's, we're not gonna make those changes that's good the way it is. So then we end up back in the same spot we still are.
Well, somebody mentioned the master. So if the master plan is going on now, that's very good, because hopefully people are participating in that process and they're telling you what they want. I mean, I just sat here and wrote down 3 things I heard that are a problem with the current zoning ordinance. I heard your zoning administrator say, I am doing this because it says it in the ordinance, essentially, right? So if there's things that are not working for you, that maybe you want to change, that can be changed. You don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, okay? Obviously, gravel mining is a huge issue, whatever. I understand that. I've done many, many gravel mining cases in my professional career, and they're laborious and time consuming and difficult and all of the above. But, you can decide if you want to keep your current ordinance, and I did write my review yesterday, sent it. And I think they're going to talk about it tomorrow at the planning commission meeting with Attorney Nicole. So, as a planner, as an attorney, you can change these things, you can tweak them. I liked hearing the zoning administrator say, sent a letter out, I gave this amount of time, but also the planning commission wants to talk about changing the ordinance about duplexes and single family districts, okay? That's certainly doable, that's certainly, something that could be looked at. And it's certainly fine. I don't know how many of you know about the statewide legislation. There's a huge push to make more housing available throughout the whole state. And the introduced legislation is it would go to 4 units on any single family lot. So that you can have 4 on a single family lot. So, even just talking about a duplex, this is not outside the norm for the realm. But that's something you could do. You would look at your master plan, you would understand your community, and you would say, either in the R1 and the R2, or only in the ag district with, at least 2 acres or something to get you to 2, duplexes in a single family district. That can be done. You can do like the zoning administrator said, I'm going to give this a certain amount of time. Sometimes we even go into writing letters of understanding that we're going to pause enforcement of the zoning ordinance for a period of time, 6 months or something, in order to allow, we see if we're going to change this ordinance, okay? If we change this ordinance, then we are going to enforce zoning on you because we're in the process of making it. So there's things that can be done if in fact you tell us what those are, you want to tell us. But that's all up to you. I'm
next 20 years.
That brings up a question. Would it be wise to have a moratorium on all zoning applications, land divisions in this in-between period? Because what's gonna happen, if zoning is repealed and someone builds $1 million home based on this, and they come back and sue us 2 months later and say, I did this and this and this, I had to change all my plans, and then you just removed all the restrictions? Would it be smart to have a moratorium?
So there's a couple of things there. A moratorium could be done. It could be done as you're looking at getting your master plan done. The only thing I'm concerned about is, what if somebody wants to build a house and now they can't build a house because we're not gonna let them have any permits during the moratorium? What if somebody's house burns down and they need to rebuild it and we can't? So, I mean, that's the only danger I see, okay? The flip side of that is, you say we go into a period, let's say we repeal this ordinance, but somebody puts it on the ballot, and we don't have an election until May or even August by the time we get everything together, right? So we have a 6 or 7 month period where we're in a no man's land, okay? We have repealed the ordinance, but it's been brought forward to, overturn that ordinance that repealed it, so then we would go back to our current ordinance, and we're in kind of a no man's land, and somebody comes in and builds a huge, commercial activity or enterprise, huge $1 million house. And then we go back to our old ordinance, and now was it lawfully established? Was it ever good? What is it? It's, we don't know what happened. So that's a little bit of a gray area. But yes, you could go into moratorium, keeping in mind we want to keep it as short as possible because people want to be able to use their property and they have the right to be able to use it within whatever regulatory scheme they have. Okay. But it's not a bad idea.
Even on the gravel pit, which is probably one of the biggest differences, because there seems to be this idea that we don't like gravel pits, so we don't want them to get have them. So you have them, and regulations is like,
Yes, so, okay, gravel pits, I'm assuming somewhere in our ordinance we allow them, is that correct? Okay. I looked at your ordinance, it's very thorough. That's all I'm gonna say publicly at this moment, okay? There is a section of the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act that talks about exclusionary zone. You have to allow lawful use everywhere in your community if there's a demonstrated need for it. So that is the state law. So that gets generally, we look at, adult entertainment businesses, mobile home parks. Those are generally the challenges under exclusionary zoning. Gravel pits, there's a little bit different standard for gravel pits, and it's right in the Zoning Enabling Act, and it comes through the case law, because you can only put gravel pits where the gravel is, essentially, right? Not everywhere can gravel pits go, so if you adopted a zoning ordinance and say this is where the gravel pits can go, and it's completely paved over parking lot, is that a realistic ability to dig gravel there? So there's different case law, there's different standards for gravel pits. Yes, you have to allow them somewhere. And if you prohibit them, there's an exclusionary zoning challenge that could be teed up. My experience with gravel pit attorneys is they're super aggressive. And they know what the ones that I deal with a lot know exactly what they're doing. And I've spent 4 years on a gravel pit down in the Hastings area during COVID. And ultimately it was denied on some of the standards that are in the zoning ordinance. They appealed us into circuit court, and we had to settle it out because the judge didn't understand the law. So just understand that they have to be allowed somewhere. We have very thorough ordinances right now that regulate where they can go and what that process is. Whether or not you want to tweak those ordinances, whether or not you want to repeal them completely, whatever you want to do, just understand that you have to allow lawful uses in our community somewhere, unless if there's a demonstrated need. The demonstrated need for a gravel pit is the roads. I mean, it was just, our governor fixed the damn roads, all the rest of it. It's almost a foregone conclusion that there's a demonstrated need. The applicant is generally a gravel mining company or an aggregate company or something, and they will give me a list of their clients. They will give me a list of their clients when they come in. They will show this person buys this much gravel from me, and then they'll show the road contracts for the state of Michigan in their area, they'll show the road commission, their own road, our county road commission may be one of their clients. So generally, I find that people can satisfy that standard fairly. Okay. Yes.
So there's that mentioning about rewriting work, and I'm not talking about tweaking it, they're talking about totally revamping.
A whole zoning ordinance.
Yeah, the whole thing. So what would be the procedure of doing something like that in taking into account that that's the first step to appeal? So how would that, how would it?
Well, if you move forward to repeal it, okay? And it goes through, you know, the planning commission goes through the county planning commission, the board adopts the ordinance, we publish it. And unless there is a notice of intent to bring a referendum filed within, I think, 7 days of the date of publication that notice, then you're gonna assume it's going forward, it's repealed, anything goes, okay? Once it's repealed and it's published and it's 8 days after publication, it's effective, then anything goes. Nobody has to come in here anymore and get permits. Anything goes anywhere. Somebody can build a hog farm next to your, living room, it all goes. Everything is open to the world. Now, there will be state laws that still apply, as was mentioned, the high risk erosion or setbacks, eagle, and, that'll be health department. Sometimes are not helpful, but sometimes, obviously. So there are other laws or rules that will apply. Your zoning will not apply. So people could do whatever they want. They could, short-term rentals would be allowed, anything would be allowed. Somebody could put a hotel, right next to your house. Somebody could put a gravel pit next to your house. Somebody could put, a confined area feedlot next to your house. Somebody, so that that's a decision. I have lots of townships that have no zoning. So that's something you can decide if that's what you want.
So as board members, what if we looked at our current zoning ordinance and started from the beginning? And, okay, what are the issues here, and how do we fix it, and how do we work with people? Would anybody be willing to do that?
Yes, so that. But that is a tough road to hoe, and I think I'm gonna copy that my statement. I would highly recommend that people bring in specific, because redoing the whole thing is gonna take a minute. I mean, you're a planner.
So even in our master plan from 2018, and there's a part in there that says the people wanted ATV, UTV, snowmobile trails. More people wanted it than didn't want it. It's not in our master plan. We want to fight it. So that's part of it. So we do that and you do the research, and this is what people want, but you still don't give people what they want, which is how we end up here, right? And that's more so the issue is that for what I have heard, it's not people saying remove zoning, it's can we keep it, but things need to start being fair across the board. Not picking and choosing for certain people that you don't have to follow these rules, or I'm gonna do things for you, not the other, or I don't figure out the cat. I don't wanna look at that in my backyard.
Okay. So let me just explain it here. If you are selectively enforcing that zoning ordinance, we're in trouble, okay?
I'll say that.
I believe you. Okay, so I just need to say, we can't selectively enforce. We can have a complaint-driven system because we don't have money to do anything more than that. Attorney Essett will be here tomorrow night, is the one who primarily goes into court for us. And if she's unavailable, one of the other attorneys will do it. I imagine you write a citation and then we're into court. I mean, there's ways to do this, but a lot of times
depending on what the board tells us you want us to do, if we say we want you to try and work it out with people, then he's gonna try to work it out with people. Whether we enter into some type of letter of understanding, I've got, just enter into a forbearance agreement with somebody in another township that, hey, I'm gonna give you 6 months, we're gonna pause enforcement against you for 6 months because we're looking at this ordinance. And at the end of that 6 months, if we don't change this ordinance, and you're still in violation, then we're gonna take up this enforcement effort again. Okay, so there's ways to do this if that's what you wanted. And I am concerned if I hear, I understand, I listen to your zoning administrator, he knows what he's doing. But he's saying, I'm in this tough place because it says you can't have 2 units on this one single family zone property. So then we figure out, do we want to change that? We said the planning commission would talk about that tomorrow. Okay, so then maybe if they decide they're gonna move forward with this, then maybe we enter into some type, and I'm not saying we do, this is totally up to you. But maybe we enter into some type of letter of forbearance that 6 months or whatever it is, we don't enforce them. Okay, now that short-term rental is a different thing. That's if we're using migrant housing, it probably wasn't built to proper standards or whatever, I don't know. But we can talk about that. We can figure these things out if we want to. But if it is, whatever your preference is, I can't tell you what to do on the housing. But once you make them, I can help you effectuate them. If that makes sense. What? So, whatever you decide.
That whole selective zoning thing, I'm not sure what happened before I got here, but I can tell you I've done everything I can do there. So, and since I usually end up being, I'm the legal agent, right, of the township, and honestly, I spend a lot of time with the zoning administrator. We talk about a lot of these things, and we're doing the best we can to follow the zoning version and kind of keep it straight. And
As a zoning administrator, I know I'm not on the board, this. When we got here, and I know I've said this before, we got here primarily, what drove this, and what's driving the need or the perceived need to change the current zone. We're there because of a willful defiance of what the zone was. So, scrape everything else away and say, okay, now we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna change this. We're gonna change this, the zoning now, to fit this situation. That's a bad precedent to me. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't, I'm not saying the zoning shouldn't be modified. I'm not even the one who does it. I'm just the one that says, you and the planning commission just tell me what to do. It's not my call, it's your call, but there's something about it, to me, that when you start changing it, in order to make it okay for the one who violated the ordinance, and that's strong, I guess that's strong verbiage, if that's technically what it is. Knowingly or unknowingly, if I'm speeding down the highway, and I think it's a 75-mile-an-hour zone, but it's really only 65, and I get nailed, it's like, oh, I either knew it was, and I sped on purpose, or I didn't. Either way, I didn't take it if I get stopped. So I'm just getting a little, I'm concerned going forward that, so what's gonna stop something a year from now? Now that's if we still have a zoning, and there's something else that someone doesn't like, and they violate it, and we get a whole firestorm in the community up, and then we're back here again because we're gonna change the zoning now because, we should do that.
And that's.
Go ahead and do it if you want. I'm just saying, it looks like a storm cloud to me.
What I'm saying is if the zoning is not what you want it to be, not because somebody's violated it and they're making a big stink, okay, because I can take anybody in court. And violation of the zoning ordinance is a nuisance per se, we will win in court. We're not looking for a violence, we're not looking for that, we're looking for compliance. So we get compliance orders, and the judge will say you have 60 days to come into compliance. If you do not come into compliance,
We can show cause, you can go back into court and say you should be held in contempt of that court order. And then we can start fining. And we can also go onto your property and clean it up or do whatever we have to do to achieve compliance. So that's what we can do, and we know how to do it, we will do it. All I'm saying is, if the ordinance isn't what you want it to be, even if there's just one person complaining, think, oh gosh, I don't know if we want to be that way, then we can change it. I see a lot of ordinances come out of planning consultants' offices, and they don't necessarily fit the community, okay? They might be too complicated, they might be not enough complicated, they might be more rigorous in some areas, and maybe it just doesn't fit. Maybe it fits in 50% of it and not the rest of it. We can look at that and see if whatever you think is right for your community. I'm not saying bow to people who violate and let them get away with it. I'm saying if you don't like it, it can be removed. That's
I will also say that a lot of times you find stuff in the zone and people ask you questions and you start seeing where these things might compete. And you bring them up, you bring it in like commissioners and you see them. So I mean, they are being brought up. You asked the question. Yes, I think we did see it modified.
There's stuff in there, like, for the accurate space, where on the property lines, you can't be louder than 65 decibels. Do people realize how loud 65 decibels is? This is 65 decibels. Right.
So, are you talking about the agricultural district?
Yeah, it's really, if you wanted to have them in there.
Yeah.
The property lines have to be in, at 65 decibels. There's one for if you have the, I think it was the solar panel one, the noise can't be louder than like 49 decibels.
Yeah.
So so if you look at our zoning ordinance, there is a lot you can do.
Right.
The problem, so like I have sounds with the plain view environment. The way it reads under the description is that it's a subdivision.
Okay. I haven't read it yet, so okay.
It reads that way.
Okay.
It doesn't say it is. It's you, say you have 20 acres, you do 1 acre plots in there, and then you set 5% boundary there. Between the township is part of that funds and like the owner or whoever, and it has to be open space and they represent us.
Right.
Well, it sounds like a sub, but is it a sub or is it not a sub?
So, without knowing where we can have a whole Saturday where we talk about something about that. You know, there's a lot of things we can do, but I find talking about ag, this straight up commercial ag, and they're protected under the right to farm act, that's a different thing. If in fact it's like a, a fence barn or whatever, we can set different, I think generally we look at noise at the property line, we look at duration of the activity, we look at how long in the day, how late at night, those types of things. So there's all things you can do, but yeah, 65 at a decibel, it's not a lot. But this is kind of old school zoning where they would assign noise limits based on the underlying zoning district, with the idea like in an industrial district, it's more intense. There's not as much residential around it. There can be more noise. So, we can look at those things and we can scale them up. We can look at, how it's close to the nearest dwelling unit, and then you go louder if there's not anybody immediately around you that.
That'd be all for special use for.
Right, and get part of the special use. Yes, so that's, we can do that. I don't know what's in your solar, but I'm assuming it's at least a workable ordinance, not a Creo. Okay. Okay.
As with all of us.
Okay.
Would anyone else, Fire Alex on the board, be willing to look at our zoning and keep yeah. Because it just can't be two of us sitting here out of the five. Okay, we have our zoning ordinance.
We have a planning commission.
We have our zoning ordinance. Because if the issue is that people are upset and we're doing it to people, then we need to do it to the people. Whether it's one or it's 200. So
Is anyone else on the board willing to look at it and say, hey, this is where we think something would be, can we send it to the planning commission?
I'm willing to look at it, but it seems to me like we gotta listen to people first. And so many say we don't vote on this.
But we,
Why don't we wanna listen to
because we just
people?
heard how that's actually gonna play out, and it's not necessarily gonna happen that way. Not necessarily gonna go to the vote of the people. Could it? Yes, maybe.
If it doesn't, then say we don't trust people.
I'm not saying that.
Oh, you are totally disenfranchising everybody that owns property in the township that may not be able to vote. And there are a lot of people
Yeah,
in this
their
township.
tax burden is a heck of a lot higher than most of ours.
And I do think it's unfair to those people that have bought knowing that the township is zoned, to just pull that rug out from underneath.
50 years, people have voted for 50 years by spending millions upon millions upon millions of dollars, buying homes, buying land, investing in their properties, paying millions of dollars of taxes. And then in one night, you just said, oh, guess what, we've taken your security away. And a lot of those people, again, they have a higher tax burden than we do. They won't have a chance to vote. No one in the village will have a chance to vote either. They pay all the taxes, they won't have.
But our zoning doesn't affect the village,
But everything going on around that will affect.
so far only Alex is the only one willing to like actually look at our zoning with me. See where things would be. And where people are now.
Well,
I'm very few people say, eliminate it and start.
You guys do it.
You know, right?
Well, stay up here.
Well, I just, willing, but I bring it to the people first.
Yeah, we've already made them, we started the process.
The process can stop.
Okay, well,
I want to.
so if the process does stop, then we'll have to deal with that question.
I want to know if we're a board that's actually going to work together and like listen to all our people and not just one side or the other, but everybody as a whole and work for our town as a whole. Because I can read through, okay, I don't think zoning, don't. I've never been affected by zoning, or I've never wanted to do something and been told no, and that's where I fall into different categories. I looked at, before I was on the board, I looked at if I could have camping on the back part of my property, which I can. It sounded like a great idea. It did. Until I realized that people would be at my house. Because they're gonna come up to my house or something, I don't want people at my house. Or maybe they could start a fire in the woods and then they burn down my woods. I don't want that either. So scratch that, don't want to be in front. I looked at other things that I could do on my land. I want to put a little roadside stand. I went. Right? I looked at what the rules were for to do. Sounded pretty reasonable, not a big deal to me. But what I heard was from people who have been asked permission, went through the steps and wanted to do things and did everything they were supposed to, and then got told no. That's where the problem lies. It's in our zoning that we can do it. So why are people asking to do it and being told no?
You would have to give me a specific whether or not it was, yeah, well, that was before.
Well, it was before us. So I am just asking, as a board of 5, who is willing to work together to see what we have and where it would need to be changed.
That's,
I'm gonna make a motion, make one, or no?
you know, I was in on that side of the argument very recently, I said. But being here just a year, I just have reached the point where it's way more controversial than that within our community. So I don't think we're doing anything that's against the wishes of our people or that's to their detriment. Give them an opportunity to vote on it.
What has changed your mind?
just seeing how cumbersome this is, how, I mean, it's so contentious. And, you know, I know we're gonna look at the planning commission tomorrow night, for example, regarding the soil extraction ordinance. And that's just, like, maybe the prime example of something that just totally got out of hand in our township, and that is what can happen with zoning.
Well, that's why you have a massive, turnover in the planning commission in the last year. I would encourage you all to continue working. You have a lot of different people in there that have different opinions than the people that were on there before. And say, well, this doesn't work for us. Let's do something different. The ordinance, the gravel thing was proposed and ultimately got passed last November. And immediately was sent back to the planning commission to have amendments made to it, to make it more reasonable for people. And then it got back to us and we voted it down, so the more draconian version of it is still stuck on the books. And we tried to make it better, and then the planning commission's been looking at it for 6 months. And as far as I know, you still don't have any language that you want to go. I mean,
Years of working on that particular thing. Tens of thousands of dollars.
Years of working
on that gravel ordinance.
No, it's less than
23, 24, I think I've seen there's been work done.
It was pretty much 12 months on the notice that it was work done. And I only had a moratorium on there for 9 months, if I remember right. So, I mean, and that's part of why it is the way it is because we try to make it as quick as possible. And so we utilize really Metamora's ordinance as a base and worked off of that. So that was one that it passed the courts, the challenge before, and it was something we could work with. The board voted, the planning commission voted on, it had 0 public hearing comments on it. Richard, I would like to remind that no one came to that. And so it moved on to the regular board, and we had basically a choice. We keep a moratorium going for a long time while we send it back to the planning commission, see how long it takes for people to make decisions there. And so it got passed with the immediate intent to send it back to the planning commission, which was done. They did some more work. That was pretty quick. That only took 4.5 months or something like that for them to come back with those modifications to make it a more relaxed ordinance. And then it got shot down, and now we're waiting on what we're gonna do. We're gonna scrap it and start over. Well, during this whole time, we're stuck with this one that's in the books. And the other thing I'd say is that all the things that are in the zoning ordinance have been discussed by people over the past 50 years ad nauseum. Look, the RV one, it took over 2 years because it's all what ifs, right? I get that. But at some point, pull the trigger. This is what we're gonna do, and if it doesn't work, we fix it, right? So there's a lot of people that, everybody in this township, or receiving people, whatever, have had an opportunity to communicate to boards, how do we want the government to run in this township? And everything that's in the zoning ordinance has had all those opportunities. So to say it's all bad, I think that's, the system doesn't work, right?
So I would say that we should give the citizens an opportunity to vote.
Well, the biggest one I just told you, you're disenfranchising all the people who are not able to vote in this community because there are a lot of them. And you're basically telling them, look, you can either take whatever the residents say, the people that have either full-time homes and are registered to vote in this community, either take what they want. All of you who want zoning have to change your place of voting to come up here and participate in the vote. I just, again, don't think that's right. Because that law home is based on government. And,
I don't see
we care deeply of our surroundings. I don't know if anybody knows that.
I don't think that that's necessarily true, Richard. I think you do. I think you have a deep care for this community.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. I think there are some, oh, you're speaking.
Yeah.
The actual, not the royal.
No, we do, and, I don't agree that we drive into a neighboring unzoned township and it's like night and day difference. The kind of examples that you gave, Kevin, they're on our road, okay? And we keep a first-class place, and we've got junkyards on our road, and we're zoned.
You want me to respond to that, or?
And Curtis worked hard on that, and it's a zoning, that's a blight issue. So we can deal with that without zoning. I just don't see our neighboring townships any significant difference because they're not zoned. I don't think it's gonna have some detrimental effect on their township.
I'll just mention that I represent a township that's on zoning, and it's a 400 megawatt battery storage and 150 megawatt solar, and they can't stop it. Okay. It's state law. They can't stop it. They can't even talk about septics, they can't talk about noise, they can't talk about vegetation, they can't talk about decommission. They can do nothing but take it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say, I'll put this out for everybody. I've been contacted by the tower company to put in a tower at $800 a month, to Dave's point. I am not interested in that whatsoever, because it is a benefit to this community. I've been approached by wind people. I don't deal with one because of how many you could do in a section. Again, I think they're hideous. I can drive down the state and see all of them. I don't really look at a giant solar farm with 700 acres. There are good things about zoning, and it's very short-sighted to think that those things aren't coming here. This community is growing at a breakneck speed. In the 20 years, or the 25 years I've been graduating, it's blown up, let alone 50 years since we started this. And it's very short-sighted to think that there won't be condos on the lake surrounding or right next to our park. And that could be one thing, where there's big complexes that are there. There's always ways to get around things with septic and water. If there's enough money there, it'll come. And if you don't have any defense in place, you're just gonna have to take it, use gathering language to take it. That's what it's gonna look like. And I hate to see our farmland converted into solar farms. There's one over in Otsego, isn't it 7,000 acres or something like that, where they're doing that by Galen's? I hate to see that happen to this community. We have the master plan, is very encouraging of maintaining our rural character and the beauty of our community, and I think we should do that. I think it's good. Master plan. That's where it is.
And I sat in the planning commission meetings where the chair said, the chair passed, who said, everybody says they want keys to zoning, but nobody comes here and tells us what they want. So, you can't fault the planning commission for not having telepathic, powers, knowing exactly what people want. And that's the pitfall I see with us going over it. It would be the most tedious, time consuming. And people don't really care about it until it impacts them personally. So they have, so.
With the ones that it's impacted though, and we have discussed changes to get pushback, there's nothing wrong with it, even the way it is. It's fine. They're just complaining to complain.
I haven't heard a single person say.
I have.
Okay. I've never heard anybody say it's just fine. Everybody I talk to is, yeah, let's look at it. Some things may be a little overbearing. Let's look at it. But again, to Katie's point, I've asked for specifics on things and nobody can ever do one. It's just, it's too long.
It's too hard, it's too complex,
Can't read it.
it's too legal.
That's what we get, and well, that doesn't help, it doesn't help narrow it down so we can improve them. That's what I want to do, I want to make them better. Without burning the whole thing down.
I know from people that I've heard, it is the biggest part of the land. And if a farmer can't farm, is not farming their farm anymore because there's no money in it. And it's sitting vacant and they want to divide it to sell, why should, and I
That's a land
didn't see
division
that law, I understand that. Our land division ordinance has, is a little bit different than the state code.
Okay,
We can modify that if we want to.
so there's a state land division now. I don't know if any of you know, there's legislation introduced that's allowing 10 splits instead of 4. And that's probably a pass. Okay, so everyone have to keep your pants on, it's coming. It probably will pass, that you'll get 10 splits right off the bat instead of. So, we would always want to make sure that your land division act complies with law and that it's satisfying your underlying zone. So, if, we have lots of, in our area downstate, we represent many rural townships where, I don't know what your minimum lot size is in the, does anyone know?
Yeah, it's an half an acre, 2.5
Half an acre.
square feet.
So,
But there's a stipulation in A, that you're only allowed 2 square per foot.
okay,
So you
well,
could have an acre and a half of it now.
okay, so
So that's this time.
that could be a problem. Okay, so it was probably intended to preserve agricultural land and agricultural, farming. Sometimes that type of thing, on a 20-acre parcel, you let them have half an acre and 19 and a half, or you let them have 19 and 1. That doesn't really generate income they may be looking for. So that could be looked at. I mean, we have a lot of them downstate, there'll be 40-acre minimums, but with a special use approval, we let them carve out more. So, I mean, there's ways to do these
Okay,
things.
so that's still valid, that 220 in our.
Yeah, it's valid, yes, because you're being more restrictive in the state. But, it can be changed. Obviously, the master plan was ag preservation probably, so we've got a 20-acre minimum or whatever it is, about 2 splits, which gives some income, but maybe not enough, or maybe they want more, or maybe there's other ways to do it, or, maybe with a special use approval, you can have more, or something like that. So right now, as it stands, even if that state law changes, your ordinance is more restrictive. Your ordinance would govern, okay? So it wouldn't really give an advantage of the 10 divisions that might come from the state legislation. So those things can be, we can look at all those things. I'm not saying I would be able to do all this in the next 3 months. I'm saying that, we could prioritize and go after what we think is important, but I also understand that some people feel that this is too big a job to approach. But if you didn't have something, that 10 splits would be the default. Yeah, that would be the default, yeah. Unless so if you have your own land division ordinance, I don't know what it says. It might say something different from that. You might want to then also repeal that land division ordinance and just default to the state law. In that case, you would still need somebody or assessor, whoever, to actually perform land divisions, but you would be performing it, he or she, pursuant to state law instead of your own ordinance. If that makes sense.
But if we had a land division ordinance that was more strict than the state, that would not impact the land division.
No, I don't know if your land division ordinance is separate from the zoning ordinance. I have to say that, isn't it? Okay, so even if you did away with zoning and you still had your land division ordinance, that would still apply, but it might implicate a zoning review with and, minimum lot size and stuff. That part of it would no longer apply. You probably get the amendment ordinance, take any reference to zoning.
Anything else? All right. Good.
projects.
No, I don't think so.
So we go through this process. And so we feel the sort of, yeah, right, okay, and then as a, after the planning commission meetings, and before they have, what are the changes that we need before they have a public hearing?
Before the planning commission's public hearing? Yeah, you meet again. Tomorrow night, they will schedule a public hearing. It'll probably be for the next meeting, I would imagine, unless you do something different. But it has to be in the paper at least 15 days ahead. So, and you could call a special meeting if you wanted to. 18 hours notice, plus the township hall in, the website. You know, and have a special meeting other than before that.
So probably they'll schedule a public hearing for the next regular meeting. So it'll be the November planning.
The November planning commission will be on Veterans Day on the 11th. Second Tuesday. So it'll be a short.
I don't know, yeah, I don't know if you're gonna have enough meetings there, every time it's posted.
Yeah.
So it'll have to be the December meeting.
Yeah.
I do not have time to publish for November 11th, unless we could get into
Really tight. Maybe.
into that.
The way the paper only runs.
15 days before, so 16 days. I don't know what day your paper published.
It was on a Thursday, and yeah, maybe get it tomorrow Monday.
And you might.
Does that answer your question?
Okay.
All right, well, I have one more question for you, Catherine. I'm gonna do the streaming and uploading of meetings and public comment policy. One member of those things.
Okay.
Do we have anything for the streaming and uploading? We're gonna research some stuff.
I would like to ask our county commissioner, Jairus, to give us some comments on that. We just talked today and we got some perspective on that because of being on the county commission. Share your thoughts on that, please.
Very well.
Yeah, I go back and forth. I tell you what, we streamed everything and it streamed on Facebook and Facebook didn't like something that we said. So they took the whole meeting down and now we're responsible for hiding something. We're not being transparent even though we made every effort to upload it. We have had so many complaints. I can't hear so-and-so in public comment. I can't hear what they said. Commissioner Rubin wasn't close enough to his mic. I find that the people that care and are passionate, they show up, or they call their commissioner, or they write them. Central Lake Township, they do not stream. They frequently have folks like this that record, and seems to work great for them. Orange Lake Township, they stream every meeting. They pay thousands and thousands of dollars to do it. So, I mean, it's your choice what you want to do. There's pluses and minuses. Our administrator said at one point that we probably have to spend over $30,000 to get it so that every one of us could be heard at all times. It seems like a lot of money.
What have you seen with other townships?
I have seen a lot of people going to it, but, some of the comments here are very valid, like if we make an error and we don't do it tonight, or the person who's supposed to run the camera doesn't show up, then we're getting, blasted because we didn't post the meeting, we didn't live stream. So, it is helpful. Are you thinking of live streaming it, or are you thinking of just taping it and then uploading it? Is that what you're thinking, or?
We're really not anywhere here.
All right, so.
Right now, you guys are doing it live, right?
During COVID, we had to, of course, have virtual meetings and stuff like that, but, and that in a lot of cases, a lot of municipalities then got their audio visual and they learned how to do it, they just continue to do it. I think acoustics here would be hard, you'd have to figure that out, right? You'd have to get microphones, and you'd have to have some setup so that people could hear you do it.
Otherwise, I'm not sure it's that valuable. People can't hear you. I don't know, maybe they'll let us know how it turns out tonight. But it's an extra, it's an extra step. And you can certainly do it if you want. I know a lot of people do like it. A lot of people are able to watch and participate, or at least watch at home, and then they're educated, but it's up to you. If you do it or not. If you're gonna do it, then you probably have to make that somewhat of an investment to make sure it goes.
Equipment to be asked.
Alex, I know I'm out of order, but there is a PA system that was purchased a number of years ago, and it was here when I retired last year, so.
Yeah, well, we used it during the, 3 years ago when we were doing the test run. I don't know how good the audio came through.
It's very hard to hear a lot of you
Right now, or on.
right now.
Yeah, right.
Right
I
now.
believe
We need
that.
to find it tonight, so tomorrow's planning commission meeting, people can be heard, is that what you're saying?
Well, possibly that might be a good idea.
Well, downstairs will be upstairs. This room is just cabinets, right?
And it's better with the acoustical panels, but it's not good.
Yeah,
For
really.
this microphone that I have though, it is really hard to hear unless you guys are like actually like sometimes when you talk, I can hear, I can't really hear Marv or Neil tonight. I'm sorry, I didn't use first name. Richard, sorry. And I just think it's just because of this room.
Yeah, I thought, I honestly thought people would be here. That's what the sign says on the door.
Yeah,
So I was preparing, I didn't want to have to move everything at 6 o'clock to come up here. So my apologies for the acoustics, but here we sit. I'm
it
sorry.
is also like a $30 microphone. So I'm sure you could find something which is better.
Okay. Anything else with that? All right, the public comment policy, we talked about it last month. So I have it here, Rich. So the change really is how the minutes are recorded, in the policy. So I reviewed it again, I read it last month. At a regular meeting of the Banks Township Board of Trustees, the following preamble and resolution was offered by Alex Bushman and supported by maybe somebody in the state. Whereas the Banks Township Board deems that it is in the best interest of the township to make certain policies regarding public comment during township meetings. Now therefore it be it resolved that the following policy shall govern the public comment period during regularly scheduled meetings of the Banks Township Board. As provided in the agenda, the township supervisor will open the floor for public comment. Members of the audience who wish to, this is section B, members of the audience who wish to address the board will be asked to stand up and state their name and township residence and will be allowed 3 minutes to address the board. Section C, public comment is not meant to be a dialogue with the board. It is the public's opportunity to provide their comments to the board for consideration. And here's kind of the thing that would change. The minutes will reflect that public comment was heard. Section D, when everyone who chooses to comment has had their turn, public comment will be closed. Following completion of public comment, the supervisor or another board member will have the opportunity to respond to comments. The board may choose to respond at this time or elect to address the comments during another part of the meeting. That is what it verbatim from our attorney. So please give your opinion.
Yeah, that sounds fine. As you mentioned, it's not a dialogue. Public comment is supposed to be for them to hear what you guys say. Anybody can say anything they want. And they're going to listen to it. You don't have to answer it right away, but I like that you have put in there that we may, if we choose to do so. And you do have 2 public comments. Periods on your agenda. You only need to have 1. You have 2, so that's pretty nice. A lot of people do that. And I have no issues with it. Sounds fine.
I guess the issue with this, the point of contention I think is that how to reflect those public comments. Some people want a whole lot of information, some want just a little bit about what they said, and
So by law, all that the clerk has to write down is that public comment was received. You know, I generally like to at least know who said something, but it's perfectly fine if that's all she writes down. You know, and it's up, that's my personal preference is that we'll see if, you know, so-and-so spoke or 5 people spoke regarding zoning in a favor or that. But that's just my personal preference. It's not required by law, and she can do it exactly what. And I know if she's got any clerk's training, they probably told her that. So it's a difference between what the lawyer likes, because sometimes I might need the picture versus what the clerk's training will tell her, which is you don't have. Certainly within her rights not to do it.
We've got very regularly scheduled meetings. Would that be just during meetings? Any meeting should have, public comment?
Yes, and public hearing.
Well, but this paragraph therefore be resolved, I guess.
Just take the regular schedule.
And just take the regular schedule. So that
Very
special meeting.
And then B, got it here that the board, those who would wish to address the ask to stand up. We have a lot of them that didn't want to stand up.
You ask them, doesn't mean they have to do it. Same thing, they don't have to tell us they're not township residents over their names, so it's a request, it's a request.
So if you adopt this policy, these are your rules, and you're asking people to do this under the Open Meetings Act. They don't have to give their name or their address, okay? If you do want them to stand at a certain place and speak, you can request it in your rules. Of course, somebody who's unable to do that, can't stand up or whatever, would be allowed to still participate.
And then, E, I think it should be clear that the board doesn't have to address public comment. We've got, following the completion of public comment, the supervisor or another board member will have the opportunity to respond to comments. Instead of may, we don't have may here, but I think that should be clear that we don't have to.
We have the opportunity, we don't have to take it up.
Whatever language you want to use, you could say may respond, it doesn't have to, you could say we'll have the opportunity to respond, it doesn't have to, whichever.
You could fix that in the next sentence, or the board may choose to respond at this time, or elect to address the comments during another part of the meeting, or not.
Yeah, that's what I would.
Okay.
And why, what is the issue? Why are we not naming people who made the effort to come here and have the courage to stand up and make a statement? Why are we choosing to not name them?
So, A, I don't have to. B, MTA advises against it. And C, I did exactly what you asked. And I put name and the subject of what they stated. And that wasn't enough. There was more complaints that I had to write more than what I was writing. So I did what you asked of me. And yet, then still got told there was a letter written about me that I wasn't writing public comment correctly. So our policy states right now that it's the nature of the comment. There's no definition for that, so I took it as the subject of the comment, and that's what I wrote, the name of the subject. Then did that for a couple months, and then got told I was doing it wrong. So I'm gonna go with what MTA suggests, which says these are board minutes for board business, and we don't need it. I tried.
How are we going to address letters that we're gonna just read it, figure for 2 hours and read it place letter? If they wanted it entered into like the minutes.
If a letter is submitted to the board, if a letter is emailed to the board, it will automatically be put with the minutes in the minute book. So we don't have to read those out loud either.
No, you don't have to. It's not, you know, sometimes I will include, you know, a letter from John Smith dated, whatever, but you don't have to. I understand what MTA says and why they say it, so that's certainly what you can do. And everyone needs to understand that the clerk prepares the minutes, they're the board's minutes, so she drafts them whatever way she wants. If the board wants to make changes to them when it comes to the meeting to approve them, they can
ask for amendments to the minutes for revisions. But, she gets to prepare them any way she wants.
And I was fine doing, I mean, even that in the subject of what was said. Until then I got told I was doing it wrong and needed to write more. So, fine, then I'm gonna do it the way I want to, which is nothing.
I'll second the motion as we move it.
Are you open to making it a policy that lets them will put their name in yay or nay on whatever they're talking about, or?
So we can keep doing this, or they can tell me.
No, making a policy, I'm putting forth a policy. You said you did it once, I mean, were you okay with it?
Oh, just putting it, just, I didn't do names before.
The names of who did this time.
This time I put for or against them before, because see, the comment was made, and say whether or not this is the correct thing to do, that I should put the tone in the public comment. Thank you. And why is it bad to put the tone in the public comment?
I don't even know how you do that necessarily, but she doesn't have to do that. If she only has to do what you just said. If she does more, that's a bonus, okay? So whatever you all want to adopt with your policy, it's still under law. She doesn't have to do that.
Yeah, I mean, we get it.
So if everyone's fine with me writing a name.
I like what we did here, I think it works. I think you do. Newspaper.
So you're saying, now Alex, that you want to change it already, what you just.
I'm offering it up as an option. I
To do it like I did.
I just read it out. And then we started quantifying it. So you move, I guess, is a good way to let's.
That was my second. Or second motion, I don't care.
Fine.
I should be able to interpret if I'm going to put their name and what they say, then I should be able to interpret what the subject of their comment is. So for the people who spoke tonight, I should be able to write spoke on zoning or spoke on a duplex. And I agreed before to do that.
Yeah, that's all I'm asking.
It wasn't good enough. We had a letter written about me, how I wasn't believing in it, right? And my favorite part was that I had to go back to December and fix minutes, which you can't do. Exactly.
I think this is great, Alex, they're seconded. I think we should do that. Voting on this. I think it's just unnecessary busy work for the clerk.
All right. Motion support.
So what are we voting on as?
So the change would be the strikeout of regularly scheduled in that line, and then adding a comma and or not allowable after. So the date change. That. All those changes.
Yeah, so the date will change.
Obviously, the date will change when it was adopted, maybe. I don't know if it's resolution number 4 or not.
So this is what I will say, but if I want to write more, I can. This is just the minimum that I would have to do. And that's all I'm asking, but it's in writing that this is the minimum I have to do. If I choose to write more, I can write more. It's my choice, they're my minutes. If anyone else wants to do minutes, by all means. But if someone else wants to write the minutes, by all means, my statutory duty is to publish the minutes. So, who's the part of this? Mark, okay.
All right, roll call vote. Katie?
No.
Mark? Yes. Richard?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, the resolution is adopted with immediate effect. Now, you can.
Thank you, Catherine. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.
All right, then, project, Richard?
If we were to talk about something, for example, a couple months ago, just have to go to this, that's on this.
Yeah, I'll get a bit for it, yeah. Okay. And that was the pay. For all, it becomes seasonal. Well, it's very good stuff. Oh, yeah. It would be, and a doctor plus.
Doctor and staff, doctor, the non-seasonal part.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah. We've been working hard on getting some funding for Essex Road. Unfortunately, it got kicked out of the budget at the last minute. But fortunately, they put into the budget an additional $3 million for the Antrim County Road Commission. And so what I would ask everyone that's willing to contact one or three road commissioners and ask them to use the $3 million on the first year for Essex Road. A road that's in desperate need of repairs. If they have that extra money, they can choose to do that. I have a few copies here of the emails for the three commissioners, road commissioners. Please take one, and if you're willing, send them a request, because they decide which roads, what they're gonna fund.
Thank you. Can you take a break?
That'd be great.
All right. Just back table. Okay. 4 minutes. Come back at home.
Your effort is basically all that got, right?
Yeah.
And so the efforts, because of this, so really, it seems pretty. Find some other, well, yeah, actually. Yeah, wrong. Oh, there's, I don't know why you have that in there. There's no roads that need those signs. Really? You gotta be kidding me. He tried to get it. Gosh. So he was, will he be gone? It's like, he figured that under the table. For the on before they.
I got asked by, I don't remember which one, which they were far off, but anyway, when they asked me if it was that right, it's Essex doesn't need it as fast. Sure it does, go drive it, so they did. So, yeah, they loved it. Yeah, he doesn't have to drive it. Pretty sure. Checklist. Part of that. All right. Sorry?
Hey Dave. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Dave. Happy birthday to you. Can't think of a better way to spend my birthday.
All right, moving on to cemetery block prices. Yeah, let's see. Good, good resolution. Board.
What's to be used for?
It's supposed to go back into the on the side.
It's like every cash.
That takes way more money than two lot trucks.
Yeah.
We should do like a whole parks, or just start renting lots.
We've been at $25 since.
Yes, yes, I think.
Okay, we've been at $25.
$25 since the ninth. Okay.
Before that, it was $20.70. From what I understand.
Okay.
So I'm not asking that we,
See what's going on around this.
yes, I printed off, I reached out to the townships, printed off what they were charging. We do 8 rates right now per resident. We are $25 for non-resident, $300 for $25 for resident, $300 for non-resident, with a purchase limit of 8 rates per family, per person.
Okay. So your proposal, $100 for the residents, and what for not?
What? No.
I don't want to get into that, because there could be, I had one today that would say, she hasn't been here in years. Her, mom and dad are here, she wants to be buried here. So they're, regardless, she was gonna buy a grave, she didn't have a lot of money, she, I think, It would have been $300 for they were kind of paying. Turned out she didn't have to buy one because there was still a plot, a grave next to her mom and dad. And the one brother that was alive said, she, right? So there are going to be people that want to live here, that used to live here, don't live here anymore. To me, even though $300, I'm fine with that, you would keep that $300. You want to go higher? We don't have that many slots. In reality, we don't have that many slots left. So it's just something to think about. At $25 grade, it is a thing that people from out of our township are calling and buying them because, hey, it's only $25 here, and it's because they can get up in the five. You know, so I'm not asking to do like the, what's it, Elk Rapids, $1,200 for a resident. Not that much.
Well, what is meant by township taxpayers, non-residents? Is that property owners who don't?
I don't, that's just how that's how Bel Air does theirs.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you mean on that? Oh, yeah. Yeah, to be fair, I copied this from another township. Oh, okay, so I thought I clicked everything out of that would not apply for us, that. It should just be residents and non-residents. Okay. So that- I was not. I mean, if anyone else has any other prices, yeah.
I think residents should be definitely high enough to try to discourage people from using it. Because we're the cheapest in the Michigan or something. But are you saying that it's pretty easy for them to get a family member if they have one?
Mm-hmm.
That's what the resident buy.
Mm-hmm.
They get the resident.
That's what I did. I bought one for my brother's one. He was living in Central Lake.
Yeah, a lot of people do it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, we need, regardless, we need to charge more than $25.
So what are you proposing, 100 or 300?
I was okay with 100.
100?
It's a jump, so.
Still the cheapest in all of this thing.
No, I did 100.
But I suggest property owners and residents, because we have people again who aren't residents, but they own property and they pay a lot of taxes, and they're contributing to the upkeep of the cemetery, so strike that from township residents to property owners. And
Then you got-
we do have renters that.
Yeah, we have renters that lived here all their lives.
Yeah, so I'm fine with renters and property owners, so residents and property owners. So we can all live here year round. The other guys are days, hunting ground, we should have something, get up. You're contributing to the upkeep of the cemetery.
In your research here, did you talk to anybody that does something where you can't use the person who buys it has to be one?
No, you're not necessarily. Anyone. You're not gonna stop them. I mean.
Good.
If we're running out of space, we need to be looking at something. We need to be looking at.
We are doing that.
Yeah, so I mean, there's more people here than there are spots. And they usually care, so we're gonna
So-
have to eventually open the cemetery.
So at Antrim City, there's actually quite a bit of space that we could use for burials. It has to be cleared out. I know I talked to Gary about it. And it's on a side hill, so the only stipulation would be kind of skip the cremains in that area. But if that whole section could get cleared out, it would open up quite a bit in Antrim City. And then behind Antrim, or behind Atwood, he said, if you talk to the homeowner, like that, or the landowner behind the cemetery, Atwood, that might be another spot where we could open it up in Atwood to add more. He said at one time, though, that not his township, but another township that he works with, he didn't buy more land for a cemetery, and they lowballed the homeowner and wanted less than what the taxable value was, so he just said as a, like a statement, don't do that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so if we have to get more land.
I asked Tim before.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he'd be willing to sell off a couple of acres off his side, not sure. He shot that down real quick. Yeah.
But somewhere else, maybe in Banks Township Cemetery, maybe 5 acres or off from. Because it looks like farmland and CR developed our cemetery, maybe it's.
Like,
I think just both. Which I did find if you put a cemetery on your land, I mean, granted, it's just the acre of the cemetery thing. You could pay the taxes. This is a fun fact. So I'm not I just saw that as a fun fact.
Given the problem that we're having, which it sounds like anyway, that we got non-residents utilizing residents to buy these things cheaper and fill up our cemeteries. I'd like to just in a month and do a little more research on it. I think there's a way to do that. We didn't need restrictions for everything else. I don't know why you wouldn't be able to do the restriction on the plot.
person that is transferred.
Okay. Yeah, no, you transfer it to a non-resident. That's kind of where I'm going. Why it's been almost. All right, thoughts on the next would encompass the purchase limits, I guess.
Yep.
So we're gonna do it on the same resolution, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Moving on, do we want to do a RFP for insurance? Been a few years. That's good. They're doing a good job.
Sure. I don't think it'd be hard to find somebody that we have to quote, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be probably more work on it, Judy, because you'll have to tell them, oh, yeah, we should. What we currently have, and say this is what we, if we don't change anything, what should.
I agree.
Yeah, get it, so I'll move to get at least 3 quotes for insurance.
We already have one, right?
You know, we got High Street already, Great Grove, so that's one. Make sure to just send what he's got. All right, I'll move that we do an RFP for insurance, for all the insurance. Richard supports that?
Yes.
Any further discussion? All right, Alec, all in favor, say aye. Okay, recreation plan and Rotary Charity grant. Lynn made some headway with, she got with the Rotary Charities, a seed grant to get the recreation plan paid for. And basically what we need to do is approve this memorandum of understanding that says we will work with the village to utilize Beckett and Grader and we're going to be the fiduciary, but the village is going to actually write and submit the grant application to the Rotary Charity, and then we'll all work together to do all the safety and stuff to complete the plan. That's the cost of it. 11 grand. That's what Beckett and Grader said. And they'll cover it. It sounded like precious. It sounded very costly. Let's put it that way.
For no cash, so it's really was a kind of.
Yeah. So the goal is we have to submit the grant goal, right? The Traverse City. Traverse City. So I'll read the plan real quick. Memorandum of understanding between the Banks Township and the Village of Ellsworth. Introduction says memorandum of understanding is necessary, and we agree to address one, the completion of the joint village and township state mandated 2026 recreation plan. Two, the procurement of Beckett Grader to provide professional planning services to guide the completion of the plan in accordance with state guidelines. Three, the agreement to request funding from Rotary Charities to fund the project. And four, to appoint the township to serve as the fiduciary of the project. The purpose section says the goals of the memorandum of understanding include: goal one, apply for an $11,000 grant from Rotary Charities, Traverse City. Goal two, procure the services of Beckett Grader to guide the project. Goal three, complete the recreation plan as expediently as possible. Goal one will be carried out by Lynn Spearing, village president pro tem, prior to November 1, 2025. And goal two will be carried out by me, Alex Bushman, township supervisor, by November 31, 2025. And goal three will be carried out by Beckett Grader by March 2026. Responsibilities. Village should also write and submit the grant application for Rotary Charities, Banks Township, procure the services of Beckett Grader, and serve as the fiduciary for the project. The shared roles and responsibilities include complete all state mandated steps to complete the plan. And then section 4, oversight in terms of the agreement, the memorandum of understanding goal and successfully carried out when the 2026 recreation plan is completed and approved by the Department of Natural Resources. I move that we sign this memorandum. Support by Katie. Any discussion?
I had the word by in there, that last line, approved by ENR.
Sure, yeah. I'll second that, motion to amend. Any further discussion on adding that amendment? Vote to what? Yeah, that's the second thing. So we'll vote to, voice vote for the amendment. All those in favor say aye. I vote the same. All right. Anything else? Memorandum. All right, then, there's support for it.
Yes.
And, all right, roll call vote. Katie?
Yes.
Richard?
Yeah.
Art? Yes. Julie?
Yes.
Me? Yes. Great. We'll make that issue. Okay, then there's the seed grant resolution authorization. This is the other half of this deal. Whereas Banks Township supports the submission of a seed grant application titled Joint Recreation Plan 2026 to Rotary Charities. And whereas Banks Township is hereby making a financial commitment to the project in the amount of in-kind contribution. Now therefore be it resolved that Banks Township, in collaboration with the Village of Ellsworth, hereby authorizes the submission of a seed grant application for $11,000 to procure the services of Beckett and Grader to facilitate the completion of the plan, and further resolves to make available its obligation of all necessary in-kind project costs during the 2025-2026 fiscal year. I move that we approve this resolution. Julie supports. It would be us. Actually, I don't know that one, but I think it's just us giving them the information. The idea is that Lynn is going to use the whole application of the grant, and then the Rotary Charities who cover the whole thing.
Are we gonna have a citizen committee? You want that?
I don't remember the even discussion. I think that would probably be the next step. After we got the agreement and get Beckett Grader working on it, that may be part of it. Okay, any further discussion? All right, roll call. Richard?
Yes.
Marv? Yes. Julie?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Yes. All right, trunk or treat contributions. We've done this in the past, for the past couple of years, where we've spent roughly $1,000 and what was approved. I don't know that we got to exactly $1,000, but we bought, smoke detector. I think Don may have actually bought them and then provided them to the fire department. I don't remember exactly the sums, but we moved to spend $1,000 on these, fire extinguishers, smoke detectors, stuff like that, for the, fire department to offer people at the, admittedly, it could be non-residents as well, at the, retreat. You want to do something like that again?
Shouldn't it just go to residents though? Or is that fine? But it doesn't?
I don't know legally if it makes a difference, but
We don't have residents watching fireworks or anything like our fire department actually covers other townships too. Look at the contract and all that do.
Carol says that quite a few people don't have, I talked to him about this, that quite a few people think that don't have that. So, I don't think it is, I was just asking if it kind of needs, if it relates to board township residents for that. He said that most of the people who come through, he knows who they are, in the majority of our residents, so.
I would think it
No.
answer your specific question, no.
No, not at all. And then, and he said that it was fire extinguishers, smoke detectors, did power strips one year, and, radon, do radon one, yeah, or, two. There you go, two, there you go, that was, couldn't think of the other one. So, I just need to know how much I can spend before I spend it. This, so I'm gonna have to order these, it's gonna be the only intention I can talk to, Ryan about it is, if I order these on Amazon, I can order them on my account, so then I have Prime, and they'll get here right away, but then we have to pay tax. But if I don't order them on Amazon, and I order them on Amazon, and don't use my account, then we have to pay shipping.
Did you ever look up, do they have government programs?
Or I didn't get it, I didn't get it. Oh, you mean to pay if we did price to them?
Yeah, discount the primary.
Yeah, we kind of need this sooner than later. I don't want to take against that. Here.
Yeah, it's just a big part.
It's just something nice to do for the community.
And it does give people an opportunity that might not. It could be an opportunity for people to get things that they don't have, or don't have the money to go get. But it also opens the door for the discussion. Like, do you have something that you know, in your house? People might not realize it, or whatever, but I mean, no, it's really my head, and I'm interested, but that's, I mean, everybody else might be.
It does, you know, in the long run, it's going to save the firefighter, we don't have to report to a fire because somebody knows, smoke detector, or they have fire extinguisher, they can take care of that fire extinguisher on their own, so. Absolutely, more of the health and safety of it.
My only question is, if Ryan isn't okay to order it, Amazon, I know we're not. But I can get it.
streets. Okay?
I did, I have a no tax account for that. Oh, maybe it should be. Maybe it should be up to the exact station. Well, like last month, and I talked to Alex before I did it, I had to order address labels for, it was on the credit card, I don't order address labels for the absentee ballots. And if I went through just the no tax account, shipping was $8. But if I went through my prime account, I paid 60 cents for tax. So I did the 60 cents for tax because I get we're not supposed to do that, but $8 for shipping, that wasn't going to cost me anything. And I needed the labels. I have to send ballots out. Like that's not a, so that's what I'm asking. What I'm asking is, do I just pay for the higher shipping
It's
then?
probably gonna be like, I thought we did last year, like $1,000.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping.
That's what we did, and that's what I was gonna move to do, but I couldn't figure out where it was coming from. So, yeah, it's gonna be hefty, and it should be reversed pretty good. Should be able to pretty good. Why not, we do better.
My plan, which I forgot about all this, right, until I got back from training and it was, okay, we have to do this. It was actually to contact some like, supply companies and see if they have any programs for the costs and cut the costs because of what we're doing with it. So we could get more.
Katie, do you know if we have the same limitation, I mean, the same limitations in the fire fund, or is it more than the general fund? Could we do this as the fire
Other
fund?
restrictions?
Yeah.
I would be more conservative.
I don't know. Yeah, without the general fund, I guess how about we move, I'll move to do the same thing as last year, $1,000 worth of fire protection equipment for the trunk or treat. And it'll all come out of CAD community promo, which is at 101-890-901. But it'd be a budget amendment to move it from the rescue department equipment and supplies, which we haven't spent anything about yet. We bring that down to $4,000 budgeted for the rest of the year.
That's another equipment, but Daryl was just saying that. I mean, us yet, but we really need radio.
Okay. About asking for my required fund.
I mean, yeah.
We
no,
make
just-
the adjustment,
yeah.
nobody
I
said
know.
anything.
I know.
That's my motion.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
So am I getting smoke detector?
Yeah, I mean, unless,
Anyone have any?
well, I probably did.
I did.
What he said.
Whatever we want to do.
That's.
Yes.
When you was talking about Ryan, are you talking about from Northern Fire?
No.
Ryan, the auditor.
Want CO2 or?
Yeah. Oh, I think I do. I do see. Fire department?
Okay.
I mean, I don't know, I'm sure it's great on the kids. You can get some of those.
I know before that I saw power strip there.
I don't see that. I know, I'm just telling you, I would, that wouldn't be. All right, any further discussion on this? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Snow plowing bids, I talked with Dylan, he's gonna give me a bid for it. He's been extremely fair for years, I don't know if we need to go outside of it. But, If anybody wants to, we can. But it's always true to the township right. So, I would move that we continue to use Dylan, or I shouldn't say that, and, but if we get snow tomorrow, I would move that he takes care of it. Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, the same.
I think we should stick with them. There's something to be said for people.
Hey, maybe somebody else has opened up a local farming company, I don't know, but Dylan's done a really good job taking care of it. Maybe you do. Yeah, yep, exactly. Do it, make sure it's right. Katie is a summer.
Yeah, I'm gonna start, negotiating with the school, do what we always do, we don't charge them, some townships charge them $2.50 per household to bill summer school tax. It's basically a line item tax bill. What we do is we take all the interest from the late payments, which is usually around $3,000. And that's the contract we do. Prepare that and submit that to the school. Yeah.
Opposition to that? All right, cool. All right, ZBA appointment, talked to Tom Strange, and we were willing to serve on the ZBA. So I'm appointing him. We're all in, but I think it's next June, but if I can do it for now. We would be filling the term that is currently going to the other four. Motion to approve.
I'll make it.
You move to approve. All right. Any support? Yes. Supports. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Same. All right. That's it. Anything else? Oh, yeah, budget. Thanks. There's Steve right now. Okay, I have a list of these on your, on the table in front of you. So we need to increase the amount we're spending out of the 204,204,0 account, in the roads fund. So the first three are all roads, and then one more payment going to all together as one, but they're three separate items, right? We spent $26,000 on Blue Lake Road that we had not budgeted, $37,780 on the River Drive calibration or collaboration. We can change that third one if you want to this intersection. Yeah, so 37,780 is for Resort Drive up to the intersection, and then you have another 5,315. You spent under. It's good before the 2,000 budget. That would be, it would end up putting us over the new to reserve by 3703, and so we would end up doing a movement from reserve 3703. The budget would change from the real one program. expenditure for the year of $284,000 against $281,000 budgeted revenue. From the road fund. Any questions or?
Are we gonna get that 3,000 from the general fund then?
Or from the reserve of the road fund? There's still some left at the end of last year. I don't know exactly what the but there, I'm quite certain it was cover 36. All right, and then the next one is the ad fee promo. See on the general fund, the 89,200 account. It's over at 4,000 right now, but because we put $3,500, which was the recreation program, we didn't put anything in 752. So when we move that, we'll forward over by $500 in the 89,901 account. So that's what this is for. Moving proposing move from parks equipment and supplies. There's enough room there. The parks are basically closed until the next fiscal year at this point. I guess that's subject to change if Katie brings back a bill for testing soil. We'll see. But for right now, this is what we've got. So that one, and we get a building improvement. We're over on our kitchen remodel by $3,061.78. So that's just moving it from miscellaneous expenses into building improvements. That's not even actually required amendment, but putting it up because that's all within the township hall. That's all one account number. But again, and then the same thing, we have $350 coming out of miscellaneous into the yard maintenance. And then 1520 for the repaired windows, moving from miscellaneous into the building. And then finally would be this $1,000 coming from 652,726 into 8901, which is rescue department equipment and supplies into the Gavin community promo for the trunk or treat stuff. I move that we approve this budget and then it's support. Support. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. All right. Anybody else have anything else? All right, then I will open the floor for public comment again, 3 minutes. If anybody wants to. Yes, ma'am. All right, Dave.
I want to touch on the disenfranchised stuff that you're saying. Okay, so I'm sure that there are people that don't live here but have property and would be against zoning, but there's just as many that are the other way. I have 2 sisters that have property and they pay property taxes and they live somewhere else and they would be against zoning also. So I think there's 2 sides to that coin. And I think the last meeting, it was obvious that it was a struggle and it was a long meeting and it took a while and finally a vote, what came to. And I think that we need to be decisive and just move on instead of mulling that choice over and over and over. And I would like to kind of noted that at least 2 of the people that spoke up for zoning tonight aren't engaged.
Okay. The other Patty.
You call me back.
Another Patty.
Yeah, so thank you so much. You guys, I can see how much time and effort you put into what you do. I'm very appreciative of it. I thank you for that.
Just one comment to Julie, when you come to like a whole zoning rewrite proposing that, really the zoning amendments are driven by the master plan and the goals that are set out in the master plan. There are identified problem areas that come up, and then that's, and so it's goal driven, not just a whole rewrite. And the other thing, zoning amendments are, the driver for changing things is needs of the community, and that's also the master. So, just to sit down and go through it, would probably not be a very good.
Totally different, topic, deer season's around the corner next month. Again, it's kind of a yearly reminder, go behind the house for public safety. Everybody on that trail hunts, everybody's walking down there with their camel and their dogs. So, public safety, be able to do something there.
Anything else? This thing, you pick it.
My name is also Chad.
Go ahead, Betsy.
Just again, about the master plan, I was looking a little bit over the 2019 master plan. And Mr. Christie had said that he doesn't think that there's anything, anyone has, that goes against the wishes of. However, in the 2000 master plan, the top listed problems that were indicated by the resident survey were short-term vacation rentals, noise or nuisances that were incompatible with land use, inland flooding, and the lack of zoning enforcement. And then the most important things that the residents mentioned in the 2019 master plan were water quality, schools, and trails and recreation. The master plan becomes completely moot if you repeal the zoning ordinances. The master plan does guide the zoning ordinances. Without the zoning ordinances, the master plan means nothing. So I don't understand why we're in the process of rewriting the master plan at the same time we're repealing zoning ordinances. And then the other thing that will no longer be regulated, if you repeal all of our ordinances, are shooting ranges, and then the potential for data centers, which are huge resource suckers from water and also power. So we don't have anything, I don't know of, in ways regulating those currently, but I think it's important we look into that for the future. So again, I'm against the repeal of zoning ordinances.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Yeah, so I would just address, you folks once again. I didn't come here to tell you what to do. I came here because I like Banks Township. I think Banks Township doesn't have the problems that we have. And I stand corrected because the lawyer brought out, and the chairman brought out that we can deal with blight without zoning. Now, there are other kinds of blight that you guys have to deal with without it, and you can decide what's blight and what's not. But it's been helpful to me, but I wasn't here to tell you what to do. I checked with my township supervisor and their secretary, and maybe they misunderstood my question, but my question was exactly what we can do with blight, and the answer was, can't do a thing without zoning. We'll go back and talk to them. It's all good. But I stand corrected, and I appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Kevin. Julie?
I would like to address accusations Brenda Powers made that I got special treatment while I was served on the boards. My house was built in 1953. That's 50 years before we moved into it. 16 before I was even on the planning commission. We haven't changed the footprint of it one bit. When it comes to the fence, we followed the guidelines of the county because of sight distance around corners. The distance where the fence is fine. The height was a problem. I didn't know about it. I went to do a land split to give Gabrielle and Ben some property. And I said to Curtis, oh, I just heard 2 days ago my fence is too high. He says, yeah, I was going to ask you about that. And I said, no problem. We'll fix it. And he said, okay. I said, just give me a couple weeks. Problem taken care of. Of course, we wanted to have a higher fence, take care of the looking at the blight across the street. And so I myself do not always approve of everything zoning. I think there are many things in it that need to be changed and looked at regularly. And your job as board members are already to be familiar with our ordinances. You don't need to form a committee. You already individually should be reviewing it to see where you should be helping guide the community. So that part of things is taken care of in the job you already have agreed to do. So yes, please look at zoning. I'm in favor of keeping zoning and fixing it continually through the process with the planning commission, the way it's happened. And just keep at that. Anybody that has a problem with zoning, come and talk to the planning commission about what that item was. So there's some specifics. Sorry, I can't practically. That's, thank you.
Amy, I guess I have a really big issue with constantly hearing that, when somebody doesn't get what they want, and it's this big brawl that we have going on because of, one ticket that was issued, but really what it did is it created light for other people who were given the right to have that thing that this person was denied. And then all we have to do is just come to the board or go to the planning commission and ask for it to be reviewed, but one person gets it, we're going to change the rule for that, but we're not going to change the rule for you. That causes a lot of, I don't trust just going through and making it less restrictive. Because I know that I'm going to come in with an issue and it's going to be beat to death over and over, or there's going to be comments made that it's going to make the person look bad, or the town's going to blame this person for creating a big board meeting on Monday night. I just need to be able to trust that I can come in and say, can we think about changing this? But then really I'm going to pay the money and they're going to say no, but they're going to say yes to this other person. That's just what I'm seeing in the last 3-4 months now. Me personally, who really didn't know about almost all of these ordinances until, family members were getting called on them, or now I'm hearing more and more, and I appreciate that. I love that. Because now I'm seeing it's incredibly restrictive, and when you bring it to light, chances are 50% chance we're going to be beaten down for it. From not you guys, from everyone else. And then I'm also seeing too that, we're so worried about these hog farms and these solar panel fields, but I'm looking at a great big giant 5G tower in our town, the possibility of maybe some sewer plant going up my road. It's just worried. We're not worried about that. I am. I'm just saying that there's other worse scare tactics out there that are being used.
Sure. Anything else?
Yeah, still a couple of things that when that whole discussion was going on. When, in the meeting, when 3 of you voted to repeal, zoning, you all three stated that you weren't voting to repeal zoning, so to speak, you were voting to give the people a chance to vote on zoning. And then the lawyer just made it pretty clear today that that's really not the way the process goes. And only one of you kind of stepped back and said, okay, that's not the way I thought it was, and kind of wanted to revisit that. And the other two of you, it was very clear that really what you want is to repeal zoning. So it just needs to be stated. I like honesty, I like clarity. And I felt like only one of you was really kind of giving us that. Also, we said something about the decibels in the zoning. Oh my gosh, if it was up, I live on a hill and I have a large family. When we have an event, I know our decibels are much higher than that. And the neighbor across the street blows up fireworks when he feels like it. I don't know about the law. I would never call and complain about that. He has a right, in my opinion, to just live his life and have fun. And I don't care if your dog barks or not. Some people get really upset about that. And no one's ever called the police on our family when we have our Easter games or anything either. So I think that although that probably could be outfit out of zoning, unless somebody calls and complains, I don't think it's ever going to be an issue. You know what I mean? So some of that stuff is in there. And then when somebody does call and complain, probably we just address it at that point in time. And my suggestion was to form a committee. If they're going to go over the zoning ordinance, you would know more about that, that. But I would, if I was going to have a committee for that, if it was a thing that was even possible, I would put the people that were in zoning on the committee, at least a couple of them. I think that their voice needs to be heard. And I want to reiterate, I bought a house in the middle, surrounded by on 3 sides, a working forever thing. I don't have a problem with zoning. I have no opinion on this particular issue. I do have an opinion on things that I think are self-serving and underhanded and not completely on the surface honest. And I did some types here. Zoning keeps coming up. This is one of them. The reason it started coming up is because somebody on this board kept bringing it up. And then that brought, everything out. It wasn't always coming up. And then Richard, you're always saying that we gotta take care of this, we gotta do this because it just keeps coming up. Well, it wasn't coming up. What happened to change it was that somebody on the board kept bringing it up. So it sounds ingenuous when you keep saying that, because it really wasn't coming up. And people saying these dishonest things, that there's been this double-handed stuff. I would like to hear personally, I would like to hear examples of that. If our leadership is that dishonest, and I have a friend who said that something very similar happened to her, so I'm not saying, we're making it up, but I would like to know who was in office, who was our zoning head when all of this stuff is happening. Because in the time that I've been here, I've seen good people with good intentions, and I've seen I can tell you firsthand, I worked with these people, and all of the zoning administrators that have been in office, and I've been here, did not charge you, did not charge her, or charge her. It's just, you follow procedure, you follow policy, everything is written down. So at what point in time, who is there? I mean, give some examples. When did this happen? Maybe we can't hold them accountable now. The next thing was RV and snowfield trails. You said that, and even you said it was in the master plan. Talk to Jerry Rex, he said he worked really hard for a number of years to get a trail through. And there were, if I'm remembering correctly, at the end, when they finally gave up after years of trying to make that happen, there was 2 landowners that would not allow it to happen. And you had to get everybody where those trails were going to go through. Obviously, you had to get their permission. And there was 2 landowners that stood in the way. So, but he would be able to give you firsthand so that you can see why. Because obviously, it was something that people wanted. It was even in our master plan. So why didn't that come to fruition? There's always a reason. There's always a procedure. There's always, if you were there and you watched the whole episode, you go, oh, I get it. If you aren't there and you're sitting at the restaurant talking smack because you just can't figure out why things aren't getting done right, then it gets pretty out of proportion and it becomes evil. And the next thing, I only have one more.
All right, anybody else? Travis?
My first thing is I take exception to you saying that somebody's got a second home or hot property, gets the same 2 cents, is a 3rd generation, 4th generation, lives here, is growing up here, other than somebody's got more money than you know what to do with them for a second home. I don't go to UP when they have meetings where I go to vacation, say I get 2 cents because I spend money here. Yeah, they pay taxes and stuff, but I don't go down where they live and put that vacation. Just because you can afford a second home doesn't mean you get a say equal to those that live here every day. And your point, it has been going on to the other, Tina's point, where I started getting involved in this, when it was with the master plan for recreational use, when the Harris, Drummond Hills tried to make a plan to implement dirt bike, snowmobiles, he wanted to do mountain biking, all on this. There was we are totally against this. Nobody got the facts, they pushed him up, totally pushed him up. He wouldn't rezone them, wouldn't make any exceptions. And now I'm here, with this, and again, I voted for duplexes and homes, I didn't need more housing. But the same people that pushed him out would not make exceptions, knowingly built something and operated something they wouldn't want to do. That's what got this started. So there's your example.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Drummond Hills would have passed if he didn't have a good lawyer. That track would have went through with our board that we had at the time.
You can't say that.
All right. Anybody else? If you want to report it, you have to tell everybody you just. I'm not gonna get into it anymore. All right, anybody else? Okay, all right.
Yeah, I got something to say.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not mean stuff, but I wanted to say, Richard, I thought it was really great you taking an interest in the cemeteries. And I say that because, my husband is in Charlevoix, in the old Catholic one. And there's some really sad areas in there because at some point, there's nobody left in the family to take care of stuff. And, things are overgrown, trees fall on graves. It's like, I even wonder myself, they have a sexton there and no money to take care of this. Some of it's been in disarray for a really long time. So I appreciate that. And I want to say, Mark, about your, gravel pit. I don't think people understand that gravel is a product, it's commodity. I don't think you understand even in your own township, when you go to order topsoil, sand or gravel, you will pay for where it's coming from. So if you want to just outlaw all mining in, the state of Michigan, it will be shipped on some barge, maybe from the upper, maybe somewhere, and you could be paying $1,000 for a load of gravel in the yard. And we need gravel for every part of building, in foundations and driveways, and did the attorney bring that up, like roads? And there's all different grades of sand, all different grades of gravel. It's not as simple as just digging a hole. So, and my son-in-law worked on a barge that did exactly that, moving gravel around the state of Michigan, from around the upper, all around, through Lake Michigan, through, to Lake Erie. That's all he did, was move gravel around, because certain kinds of gravel are required for certain kinds of jobs. And Mars Pit may not provide every single type of gravel that's needed for anything in particular. So it really is a commodity. And it needs to be taken a little bit more seriously.
Just about it. Anything else, board comments?
I'd like to just reiterate that the only way to bring this to the board of people is to do what we did. So I stand behind that. My role, the vote. Expect. Right, it's a long way. But, right, exactly.
Anything else? All right, and we're, what? I make a motion to adjourn our meeting. And our next meeting, they want to support that. All in favor?